This is Bottom of the Bill.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Bottom of the Bill. This week we have Jack Ringca. Some of you have mentioned in the comments, yes, it's long overdue. Sorry. Yeah. But it was a great episode, and we're stoked to finally have made it happen. But before we get into the episode, we're going to do our weekly catch-up. I haven't seen Chris in like a week, probably.
I was gonna say a week on the nose.
Yeah, so what's been going on?
Not a whole lot, good stuff. I had another week of different players every night, which is always fun. Getting that flexing that sideman muscle pretty hard. It's been fun. Snake pile, played with Jessica Hope. Chelsea and I played. Then I played with Sean Sackman on Saturday and had a rehearsal for the Velvet Underground cabaret show I'm doing. So 5 different groups, all different roles. It was blast. So it was a lot of fun. The Velvet Underground show I'm doing is put a little plug in for them. That is a cool cabaret show I got linked up with through Alex Handy. And these guys are they're Australian and they tour the country taking the show around and they revamp it in different cities and states and stuff like that. But they've done stuff in Vegas, they've done East Coast, West Coast stuff, European stuff, just a really cool show. And so like they have all these tunes that we're all charted out on, everything's choreographed, everything's like down to the wire. And it's a cool band, some cats I knew. Alex is on the gig with me, but there's this jazz cat, Jack McLaughlin, who I've recently met. Jeff is becoming one of my favorite guitar players in the city. I saw him play over at the Casbah Jam, and then that was the first time I met him, and we're like, wait, we're on this gig together. That dude has got some, like, Julian Lage level comping chops. I mean, just, like, piano-esque lines on comping. It's insane. And then you go to see him play, and it's so creative, his lines. He's got some bebop language, he's got modern fusion language. It's all just, like, wrapped up in this cool thing. So Jeff is, that's all I'm saying about it, but Jeff is an animal. And then Katie Dutton is singing, she sings with Jenny Gray and Milpro, and she's doing vocals on the project. So we've got a slamming band. It's relatively easy stuff. However, it's all choreographed. It's a really killer show. So we're doing two weeks in Jacksonville in December. We'll have some dates for those. So that was cool to check out.
How'd you get linked up with those guys?
It was through Handy. We're an honest and transparent group, so I'll call you out, Justin, a little bit. Justin from Time-Wise was on the gig, and he pulled in Alex, and I think Justin just couldn't make rehearsals, which is like a big deal with a rehearsed show like this, and he could make 0 of the 3 or whatever it was. So after rehearsal 1, Alex put in my name for the hat to get pulled in, and so he sent me the dates, I could do them, and I got the music, I charted everything out, I took some of Justin's charts and, got everything down, and hit rehearsal last week, and it was pretty seamless, so I appreciate it, Justin. Thanks for the indirect call.
Look at slipping in behind your bandmate.
And I've thought him since then. It's just one of those things where he knew he could make the rehearsals, and he already had to set some of the dates out, so I could do all the dates, I could do this and that, so, I know it kind of sucks, but, you got going on what you got going on, and you can take what you can take, and you can't what you can't.
Yeah, everybody's on the same page with it.
Yeah, I saw him at Casbah right after I took the gig, and I, like, didn't know if he knew that I had got the slot, and so I was, like, being super weird about it, like, not trying to offend anybody. He goes, oh yeah, I know you're on the gig, and I'm like, oh, well, you could have just led with that. You made me sweat for nothing, man. It was just like, thanks for that. That was super cool.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Time-Wise, we've got a new single coming out this Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Another NFS cut, Peace and Quiet. It's a super pretty ballad that Jeremy Prince wrote, and we're dropping it on the hectic day of days, Black Friday.
Yeah.
So if you go out shopping and you're super stressed out, find your nearest Time-Wise streaming supplier and toss calm yourself down with this little beautiful sax ballad.
What's the song called?
Peace and Quiet.
Peace and Quiet, right? Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And then I just dropped today that my new single is out December 1st, and that's just a folk instrumental tune that I wrote over COVID for a buddy of mine was doing a documentary about foraging like mushrooms and doing like a forage to table kind of series on the Appalachian Mountains. And he's one of my best friends growing up. It's like, hey man, can you write some music for this? And so I wrote a few tunes, and you know, that was kind of at the end of COVID, so life started happening, and they didn't really get the wheels up on the project yet. I'm hoping they end up doing something with it. But I had this tune written, and it was pretty much done. I played everything on it. I was like, man, this is a really, you know, cool thing that's just sitting on my drive. So I was like, all right, well, I should put this out. So I hit up my buddy and was like, hey, I'm going to drop this. He goes, yes, definitely do it. And I was like, well, it's still going to the documentary if you guys ever do anything with it. So, but it's just really almost ambient folk. It's really nice background music, but it's like what I do with it. So I'm into streaming services for you to clean your house to or something. So
Yeah, I listened to the clip on Instagram this morning. It sounds great, man.
yeah, appreciate it. It's got a fun little bluegrass head on it. Because you know all the cool little ambient noodlings and stuff like that. So cool. Just more stuff for the world to hear and have, you know.
Hell yeah, man. You're putting shit out, getting work done.
Yep. And
Awesome.
Patsy's goes back in the studio. Cluster's talking about studio dates. Everyone's making music. So
That's
keeping it going.
Hell yeah.
What you been up to this week?
I had a few gigs. I first want to say that the Andre 3000 record is fine.
It's fine.
People want to hate on it, and then people want to also put it on a pedestal.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
I haven't listened to it yet. I really want to. I mean, it's on my queue to
Yeah.
listen to, but
if you like good ambient electronic kind of, it's like you like fuses this ambient electronic stuff with like these, you know, cool like flute things, I guess performances, and it sounds great.
is he playing the flute on it?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's actually good. Like, I mean, the performances are really good. So I mean, you know, it's fun. It's great. I'll give it like maybe one more listen through,
Okay.
and then I'll probably put a ribbon on it. But it's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be if I was in like a meditative state or like doing yoga or something. But like for the sole purpose of just like listening to music, I probably wouldn't put it on again. And I will say, I know this is blasphemous to some people that want to just like, you know, let go of nostalgia in the past, and it's all about looking forward. Look, I agree. I'm 100% about that too. However, Andre 3000 is one of my favorite rappers of all time. So like, I want to hear him come up with, I want to hear him do something else. I get that the iron wasn't striking or he wasn't inspired to do that, and that, I can totally relate to that too. Hopefully one day he gets inspired to write again, to write hip hop again, and the day that he does, I'll be looking forward to that as well. He still has a fan. I'm still a fan, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So like objectively, it's still a great piece of work.
Yeah.
It's not what his followers and know him for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know, that's my take on that. And then as far as gigs, let's see what I had.
Yeah, the big shrimp gig. How'd that go?
Yeah, that was fun.
I was there. It was good.
Yeah,
I was just curious. I'm curious his words for it.
it was fun. We did not sell 100 tickets, so thank you to everybody who did not show up. However, I still put on the unicorn outfit at the end just to kind of give the people who did come what they wanted, because a few people mentioned it when they showed up.
I think he just like wearing it.
It is very comfortable. I was very hot on stage.
I
Needless
would
to say.
buy that for sure.
So I'll be posting clips with it, but it was cool, man. You know, again, it was like music that I hadn't gotten to play before. The musicians that I got to play it with, shout out to Kevin, Ramos, Brandon Howell, Aaron Thorla. Everybody was like super motivated and excited and knew what this was going to be, you know, like, you know, just an unpaid passion project kind of thing. And you know, we still met up twice to rehearse for it because everyone got the list and was like, yeah, these tunes are dope. Let's fuck with it, you know. Musicians are. I always say this about musicians, where if the music and the hang is there, we can like let go of a lot of other things, you know.
Yeah, same thing. You need 2 to 3 things.
Exactly.
And money's not always. We're making money. You know what I mean? We're out there gigging. We're working. Like,
yeah, it's a fucking Tuesday night at Jack Rabbits. You know, let's just have some fun.
what else are we doing?
Yeah. So it was cool, man. It was a lot of fun. Again, we had some Mike Stern stuff. We had the Trucks band. We did that Steve Kimmick tune, Bad Hair, which was fun. We did what else did we do? I don't know. It was fun. I'll be putting
You'll see them out there online.
Yeah. And it was cool. Even the guys in Big Shrimp were like surprised by the performance. In my opinion, I think that we, from my perspective, I did what I set out to do, which was to challenge myself and to do something like this. Performance-wise, I think that I, obviously could have done better in a lot of ways, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, it was our first time doing it, and it was just supposed to be a fun thing, which it was. So, and obviously, the guys in the band killed it. Brandon, Aaron, and Kevin are absolute pros, and they just, nailed it. So, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and it felt good. The energy felt good, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, dude. I rarely get to watch music anymore. I feel like to see all the homies that they're playing stuff that they, want to play is really cool. It's stuff I haven't heard of, which, not to toot my own horn, but I check out a lot of music. So there's stuff on, there's stuff there I'm like, oh, sick, I got more homework to do. This is good.
Yeah, Steve Kimmick is people sleep on him.
Yeah, he's an underrated name on the scene for sure.
Yeah.
His name floats in circles, but it's not necessarily a household name, musically speaking,
Yes, I think that I love the way that he plays, but it is not as, technical and flashy as I think a lot of the other guitar players in that scene are.
Yeah.
To get all the praise. But he's very, he's very patient, and, he's very melodic, and his tone is, so pristine and crystal clear. I don't know, I love everything that he does. He's such a talented guy. And versatile, too. And I had some other gigs. I actually saw Jessica Hope on Saturday at the Rec.
No way.
Yeah, we were hanging out. She just happened to be there. I didn't recognize her at first.
Okay.
And then her friend comes up to the bar and was like, hey, my friend sings. You should let her sing for you. And I was like, I'm sure she does. And I just kept playing. And then I look over. I'm like, is that Jessica? And then after I got done playing, I was like, Jess, is that you? She's like, yeah. And we started talking for a minute. And I went to go hang out with them on my break. And I was like, you want to come up and sing a few tunes? She came up and she sang some songs. And her friend was like, I told you.
Yeah, I knew this before, though. I just forgot that I knew that.
Well, to be fair, many people come up and tell me that their friends are singers and that they should sing. And I don't trust any of them because I don't know them, and that's just the way it is. Once I realized it was Jess, I was like, okay, yeah, you're right, your friend's going to
Yeah.
Only because I know her, though, and I know she's super talented.
Yeah.
She was on the podcast.
Don't put up our own, I guess,
Yeah, so that was cool. And then I ended up playing with J-Raj at the local.
Yeah, cool. Kind of the thing that has been, I don't think I've been thoroughly impressed with him recently. I've only known him for a couple months, but I can play, man.
Yeah, he's great, dude. He's great. He was at the Jack Rabbits show, and I didn't know.
Yeah, he came out for a second.
I didn't know who he was. We started talking at the show, and then you were like, he's a bass player, and he's really good. And I was like, oh, well, I need a bass player this weekend. So I'm glad it worked out. He absolutely crushed the gig. But the gig itself, I hate that place, dude.
Let's talk about it.
Dude, the local in that
You played the local.
it's not even like the place is bad. It's a cool vibe or whatever.
No, let's get it correct. The place is bad.
No. They have good food. It's if you're going out for a night out and you just want to hang out somewhere, it's cool.
Sure.
The manager was on my ass the whole time about hard stop at 10. I'm like, dude, trust me, I'm not playing past 10. Just trust that. And then every break, she's like, hey, can you guys let me play now because you went on break at such and such time? Like, dude, I'm watching the clock. Don't tell me how to. And J-Rod just sitting there like eating, and she comes up and tells us to get back on stage. And then he like gets up and says, no, you can sit back down and finish your food. She doesn't tell me when we go. I know what time we stop, and I know what time we're starting. Period.
Yeah,
This is how I run all my gigs.
Random, you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is how I run all my gigs. It's never a problem anywhere. So I'm not doing this. I'm also just so over these gigs that I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's a shitty paying gig. I don't care. It's a shitty paying gig. I only did it because I needed to have money coming into my business. So I took it, and I also like playing with a band, so I took the gig. And I will not be taking any more gigs in the local, straight up. And yeah, that's it, dude. I'm tired of these. I have no patience left in me for this shit at all.
Yeah, dude. Well, and I recently had some people do a similar thing, and it's like, hey, we know what we're doing, and like you tell your servers when they can take breaks, or your people. We're independent contractors.
Yeah.
You don't have a plumber show up to the local and do plumbing work, and then stand over their shoulder and tell them how to do it.
Right.
It is literally the same thing. They are contracted, we are contracted. And I know brought us in to do a job, we're doing it. We get no complaints anywhere else. We know it's been doing it for years. What are you talking about?
And I know that there are shitty like bands out there that take 30-minute breaks and like run up tabs and walk out. Like I get it, but like that's not what we were doing.
Yeah.
And so I just don't have like patience for it. And she said before we even like got started, Craig, shout out to Craig Rieger, he's an amazing drummer. He was getting his kit set up. He got this Timbali that came in the mail that day. So he was testing it out. And she came out instantly. It was like, hey, we haven't had any noise complaints since we put up this wall thing here. So, but I could hear what you were doing from the kitchen inside. I need you to turn it down. So, dude, we haven't even started yet. Like, he was just testing something out. That's another thing. When people talk to me, like during sound check, when we haven't done anything yet, and try and tell me about volume, it happened somewhere else that I won't mention, but it happened somewhere else also. I'm like, wait, give me like 5 minutes to get stuff dialed in, and then come and tell me something that's still a problem.
Yeah.
Don't let me play my first chord, or let the drummer hit one thing and say it's too loud. We haven't done anything yet. Because I have no more patience, dude. I'm over it. So if you are listening to this and you own a bar or manage a bar or a restaurant or something and have bands play, just give us the benefit of the doubt for 5 minutes. And then if we prove to be the exact opposite of what I'm saying, then go ahead and bitch people out, whatever you want to do. But like until that point, I have zero patience for this shit, dude.
I feel that. I mean, I don't mind burning this bridge at this point. I've only got a couple games left, but I did not a similar thing, but since we're here and we're on it, you know what I mean? You're going to play Bar and Grill, right? Don't laugh. They're great, man. That's so crazy you would just do that right here. And tell people how about it, too, that's for sure. So did I tell you about my little 1-2 punch situation from last weekend?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if I did. So, transparency, I booked a Bacon's gig the night I had a YP's gig.
Yeah.
And those pay 4 times as much, so I'm taking that all day. And I kind of forgot I had the YP's gig booked until Ramos and I were playing there, and I looked at the calendar, I'm like, oh man, I'm on coming up, and I'm not going to be here. So started looking around for a group, and long story short, I ended up finding Matt Green, and Matt put together a group for me to cover, and he got the Group Coalition, and they play all these events that play all over town, and so I was like, all right, cool, I got the group, I got to let them know, and we'll be fine, and we'll go after the races. Life happens, and I forgot to let the club know that I had a sub. Oops, I'm going to take that one on.
That is on you.
That was an oopsies. That was a total oopsies. So, nonetheless, they show up. It's a whole thing. I'm kind of like, oh well. And they go and they run the gig. They did great. came back and goes, hey man, so they've crushed. So thanks for that. I'm like, yeah, they crushed. I always deliver. It's what I do. We won't go into that now, but I do. I goofed this one, however, I still crushed. What you gonna do? So then we get through all that, and I had a gig this Thursday booked, and the state I was playing at Southern, and then I was supposed to play EPs. Well, last second I got switched from APs to YPs. It's real inside Jacksonville baseball, but it's further away. I'm like, all right, man, but I had a gig booked, close by, and so getting over there is going to take me longer. It's going to be real down the wire. I'll probably get there like right as we're starting, kind of thing. And yeah, it's all good. Thanks for commenting and shifting. So, in that gig, I get over there right as I said I was going to, and I start getting calls and texts like, man, you close behind me, this and that. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm fulfilling exactly what I told you I was going to fulfill, this and that. I said, when I'd be here, I said this, I said that. I get inside, I set up, we start 5-7 minutes after downbeat, because Jess had came and brought PA and this and that, so like, started earlier than other bands that kind of filled in with there that did not have that same situation, crushed it. But, you know, there's a guest bartender on this. I'm getting all this kind of stuff left and right, and I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you're just mad from last week. However, I told y'all, cut and dry, the situation. You're all angry about it. Like, don't play last week's thing off the thing that's happening now. This is all in line with what we agreed upon.
It was
communicated,
yeah.
So, anger begets anger, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, if you're going, like, you know, if the communication was done up front and they knew what was going to happen, then if they get mad, that's on them. However, if you're going to be pulling things like that, you have to make sure all your tracks are covered all the time. So, like, when you're calling, when you're putting a different band in your place because you got a different gig, that has to be communicated to them.
So, and my track record with that is very good because I shoved that gig out a lot. And I've got the receipts. I've always got quality subs. I've always done this. I've been very good to that bar in terms of like subbing in when they need subs, subbing out quality when I need subs. Always give them 2 or 3 weeks out to let them.
Yeah, so you just have one bad day.
I literally had a busy week where I like got caught up in doing 5 different gigs that were high stress. And it slipped through the cracks. And I told him as much. I was very apologetic. I was like, look, you know, we've worked together for a full year. This has never happened. So, like, a touch of grace, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, it could have been worse. You know, I didn't communicate. However, you still got a band that's there. Like, you're not missing out on a night of music. It's also like the group. It's like, this was a slip up, but, like, we're good, though. You know, it's not like I didn't leave you high and dry. I didn't communicate as well as I should have.
Yeah.
And the rest of my track record should vouch for, like, how on it I've been. And then the second it's like, it's like, well, all right then. I've only played 120 dates at your clubs this year, so can't cut me one night of slack.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, it's also, like, super low stakes. So it's like, when bars don't, like, you know, if you want to pay, like, bottom line rates, and then you expect everybody to, like, essentially those gigs become placeholders.
Well,
you know, it's like,
totally.
You get something better that comes along, which could happen, because if it's a real shitty gig, chances are there's going to be better gigs out there. But hey, it's better than not having a gig.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is like, it's your safety net on the gigs.
Yeah.
And to your point about low stakes, you saw how you laughed and reacted when I even said the name of this place. It has got a known reputation, you know.
It's for really just for, like, not paying bands well. You know? Like, just, like, keeping the same standard they've been keeping forever. Most places that I've played at, that I still continue to play at, have given me raises, like, every year. Or if I've, like, raised my rate, they've matched it, or at least we've met somewhere in the middle.
Totally.
Like, that's every place that I consistently play at now.
Yeah.
But, like, places like that wanna, you know, God damn it. Anyways, dude, we gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
Jack Ringca is an amazing musician. became a great friend of ours after this episode. We talked for hours about all kinds of stuff. I think you're going to enjoy the episode before we get bled out here by the drums. We're letting you guys go. Like, subscribe. We got merchandise in the bio or in the description, all that good stuff. Enjoy the episode. Peace out.
Make sure to check out the new album from Wall Drummer 13 coming real soon.
This is Bottom of the Bill.
You guys are professionals. I love it.
Yeah, man, it's been
It's a process.
yeah, it's a process. We had it was funny when we first started. We had the one DSLR and Billy was on the podcast with me, and we were just doing it like that. And then Chris and we had, do you know Gene O'Neill?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's another guy kind of on the scene, and they started coming in and helping us produce it.
Right.
And so they brought from a church like a switcher, and then like a camcorder and like another camera.
Yeah.
And then the church one day was like, "Hey,
Where's our stuff?"
yeah, you can't use this shit anymore." So within literally we had a week to acquire all these new cameras and shit and a new switcher, and luckily I had some money put away, so I was just like, "Fucking, let's just buy all this shit," you know. So
now you own it.
Yeah.
Now
so.
you got it
for better or worse. We're committed now.
Yeah, man. You can do it for as long as you need it, and when you can't get somebody to do other video projects, because I know you guys have been doing other video projects. Congratulations on all your releases.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a fan.
You are?
I'm a fan.
Oh,
I'm a fan. Well, I've always been a fan of you, and Chris, I've only recently gotten hip to your stuff.
Yeah, and likewise, catching you on the scene. I know you've played with a bunch of projects, but you recently linked up with T.
I did.
Patsy stuff, right?
I did, and that's been great. But I'm a fan. I've watched most of the Bottom of the Bill podcasts.
Oh, thank
What?
you, man. That means a lot.
Not there's 130 something episodes out.
Yeah, close to it.
And I haven't watched all of them, admittedly. You know what I mean? So I'm not the super fan, but I get it. So it's I like it, but the cool thing about having this setup is that we might as well just jump right into it. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Here we go.
going.
Yeah.
So one of the things about making music these days is that you can't just make music.
Right.
Right? You can't just I can't just play my damn guitar and sing a song anymore. You know what I mean? I can't just play piano or whatever the hell it is I'm going to play. These days you got to be able to do your own video shit. You got to be able to do your own designs, and you have to be able to make flyers, and you have to know what a high-end font looks like and how to identify one and how to, you know what I mean, all that sort of stuff. And so what's cool about all this stuff that you guys got going on is that you kind of take a lot of those middlemen out, or at least give yourself the ability to do it once you learn how to master, or master's not the right word, but once you learn proficiency on all the gear that you got, you can do whatever the heck you want. It's you're man, I want to make a podcast. You can. If you were hey man, Miles isn't available or whoever's not available, but I need to do some video stuff, you can do it.
Yeah,
and that's rad, because I consider myself pretty well plugged in and at least able to make a living making music. But what I can't do, and what I've always sucked at, is I'm not very good at networking, and I'm really not good at doing things that aren't music, right? And so now I'm 45 years old. When I started, playing music was enough.
Right.
You could get the gig because somebody would just go, "Hey man, you can play pretty good. Why don't you come gig with me?" And then you could do it. Now it's if you don't have a solid web presence, if you don't have a brand, it gets harder,
It's nearly impossible,
Yeah,
man. And
it really is.
And that's kind of been the struggle with, with everything over the last few years, and especially since COVID, where gigging has, now it's kind of back to normal,
It's
but for a
getting there.
while there, it was pretty slow.
Yeah.
And so that's why we started doing the podcast, because it was okay, this is at least a way to keep the conversation moving.
Absolutely.
And then it evolved into other stuff. And then it got to a point where it was we have all these cameras just sitting here, 6 days a week.
Why not use it?
Yeah.
Why not utilize it? Absolutely.
So we've been doing that. I just did a video / live acoustic album.
Cool.
/ behind the scenes documentary thing. I'm not really sure how I'm marketing it yet.
Sure.
But all because we had the cameras, we brought Miles in to get some of the more high quality stuff.
Yeah.
And then we did some stuff for Time Wise. I think Alchematic is gonna be using the cameras on Sunday for their release party.
Heck yeah.
So we've done stuff with Kika the Brave where we brought these in and did his live video stuff.
That's awesome.
So it's been cool to be able to like, not just like make this stuff work for us,
right?
But also just to get plugged in with our friends in a different capacity.
100%. Yeah, it allows you to not only diversify like your revenue streams, which is great, but it also gives you the ability to diversify the ways in which you can collaborate with people.
Yeah,
like I'm not a graphic designer, but I see people all the time who are like, man, I really need somebody to help design a shirt or a flyer or a sticker or a whatever, or just like make these pictures not suck. And if I knew how to do that, I would have deeper relationships with those people. If I knew how to work a damn camera, it would work way better. I would have a way a different kind of collaboration and understanding of what these people are into.
Right.
And I think that's one of the cool things about this podcast and podcasts like it is that not only are you guys making music as your day job away from this, but what happens now is like now you get to either get collaborative understandings of people that you might not have regular relationships with, right? Or you might be able to take people that you do have regular relationships with and then just like scratch a surface that you wouldn't have scratched otherwise.
That's the thing that I get the biggest reward from doing this is like aside from hopefully giving like a platform to other local artists. But like really the thing is that there's been people that I've worked with over the years, yourself included, and in various capacities, and it never gets past like the gig.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, but then you end up knowing these people for years
and knowing nothing
about them. And it's strange as musicians when we say somebody is a good friend, that means we played maybe a few gigs with them over the course of like 10 years.
Yeah, and maybe you had like 3 short conversations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yes, absolutely that. Like there are people who like are on all points of the earth that I think of as my good friends, but then I'm like, do I really know that person?
Do they have a sibling? I don't really know anything about
that. I don't know anything about them. Yes. Like I have one in mind, and I don't really want to like bring the party down, so I'm not going to bring it up. But there are definitely some times where like you see people and you go, oh yeah, that person's a homie, and then you're like, I really don't know a damn thing about them. Yeah, man, and in doing this, it's helped to break those barriers a little bit more, and also introduce us to new people who never even like I discovered, and you're probably more plugged in to this stuff than I am, just because of the nature of how many different scenes you work within. Yeah. Like, but I didn't even realize this kind of emerging next generation of like rock, kind of punk rock kind of thing that's happening here in Jacksonville. We had the Parks and Raz kids on. Those kids are great.
So good. And so much fun, dude.
Absolutely.
We had Lifted Riffs on recently, which is another up and coming one. And it's been cool getting to like kind of meet this new crop of super talented musicians and just see what's happening in a different world.
Absolutely. And to see maybe where like not only is it a different scene, but like again being 45 and seeing Parks and Raz, using them as a good example, is seeing it from like where maybe your generational blind spots are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just your cultural blind spots. It's not just your, oh yeah, I'm a Strat player who plays real good. That cover band scene thing. You know what I mean? Like you also can just go, oh look, there's this not only just a cultural blind spot, but also like I don't know it. If I'm not hanging out with them, I have no idea what 16-year-olds think.
You're right.
You know what I mean? I have no idea what 20-year-olds think.
Right.
You know, because like I just don't.
It's a world away.
Yeah, I just don't work with those people. You know, and it's really interesting to like be able to just kind of dig in with those people in whatever way you can. Unfortunately for me, it's mostly gigs, but it's cool to see this and you see them, and you're like, oh, look at that. They actually have like thoughts that are maybe counter to mine, or like or thoughts that are complementary to mine, which is even cooler.
That's the coolest thing, man. Is it's because like we know just you're shoved. It's like shoved down your throat every day. The differences between like Gen Z, millennials, and Gen X, and like, and it's like it's a different. Like you just get that shoved down your face, like your throat, so much, and to get in a room with somebody and have a real conversation with somebody, you know, who's 20 years old, who by all measures compared to us is like, you know, they're still a kid kind of,
absolutely.
And to understand that there's like a lot of common ground there in how we view things.
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, we're not that far apart, dude. We have a few things, maybe like we grew up with different technologies, but like fundamentally, I don't think we're that far away from how we understand the world around us.
I totally agree with that. And what I also think is cool is that since you guys, less me, but more you guys, are so comfortable with or getting comfortable with embracing technologies and things like that. I've never been on TikTok.
Yeah, it's
right?
a lot of fun.
You know,
I was gonna say you'll love it.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I hear it's really forgiving for 45-year-olds, but especially with the rotund body types, I hear that we're just the best thing on there. But like, what's interesting and fun is that you can find that if you embrace it, if you embrace at least the mediums that the younger people use, right? It's cool that perhaps you can just how to find the words, that you can discover that maybe the only difference between them and us as more seasoned professionals or seasoned creatives is time.
Yeah,
it's literally the only difference, right?
The only difference.
You know, like if we take technology out of it or have the foresight to embrace it, the only difference between us and them is time. So like sometimes like I've heard you talk a lot about how like sometimes you feel like fish out of water when you're in a jazz jam and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know? And I totally get that because I feel the same way a lot of times playing jazz specifically. But what I think is really interesting is do you know who Mike Manieri is?
I don't think so.
He's a like hot shot, but old guard vibraphone player.
Okay.
And I was hanging with him 20 years ago, and he was given a clinic, and there was like 1,000 people in the room, right? A bunch of like heavy jazz cats in the room, right? And it was great. Peter Erskine was playing drums. It was just a killing band. And he goes, oh, here's a tune that for everybody in the room because you're all gonna know it. And he played Stella by Starlight.
Oh, nice.
Right? I have to admit, 20 years ago, I didn't know the tune. Like, I just straight up didn't know it, you know? And so, like, everybody else in the room went, oh, yeah, this feels like home. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I don't know this tune. I don't, like, you know? And I get that it's a standard. I get that, you know what I mean? But what I think is interesting is that later we were having a conversation after, because I'm fortunate enough to have lived a life where I just kind of have people who want to be charitable to me for no good reason.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome.
So a lot of the inns and gigs and places I found myself have nothing to do with my abilities. Like
people like you.
Yeah, well, not even just like for some reason they decided to take a shy and like give me the pat on the back and say, "Come on with me, kid," you know. And I'm like, okay, let's go, you know. And so it's like I was hanging with Peter Erskine. Peter Erskine's like, "Come on, hang out with Mike Manieri," and me and Mike were talking about like I was like, man, I kind of feel like I like a faker. I felt like I didn't belong there. And he was like, how old are you? 25? Well, yeah, 25. He's like, man, the only difference between you and me, you play vibraphone, you have good hands, like you know that a Neapolitan 6-chord resolves to a 5-chord or a 7-chord. Like, you're not dumb. You know how this works. You just don't have the time invested. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's cool to see the young generation like hungry for it, going after it, and knowing full well that hopefully if they keep doing what they're doing, then what will be cool is to know that when my ass is dead and gone in 5 years, what's going to be awesome is to know that music is going to be shepherded by somebody who cares still.
Yeah.
It's in good hands.
Totally.
You know, it's like creativity is not dead just because TikTok is uncool to 45-year-olds.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Took me a second.
I was waiting for it. You gonna say something, Chris?
I know I lost it. That was good. Well, that was nice.
There's like to kind of build on that right there is that like this you know like the generation, you know, like the boomer generation, which is so terrified. And I would even argue a lot of people in Gen X and even like millennials too, that are so disconnected from culture, right? That have this fear of new technology.
Oh, 100%.
And they're just like, oh, well, you know, people are getting taken advantage of and they're getting our data and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I think you live in a world where you think that we're all falling for the email from the Nigerian prince that wants $100 from you, right? Or whatever it is. But the reality is the generation that grows up with the technology can navigate it much better than you can.
100%.
So they're hip to the scams and to the things that to look out for. I was talking to my 16-year-old nephew and he was like pointing shit out to me on Instagram and TikTok of like why this account doesn't look real. Now there's glaringly obvious examples, right?
Certainly. Pretty girls who want to follow me are not real.
But then there are ones that are less obvious, and that generation can spot that.
Oh, 100%.
Too, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's the shit where I might even get like, because I try to be, because with the business accounts and stuff, you get hit all the time with bullshit. So you try and be like on top of like what the newest thing is. But these kids, man, they get it way quicker and they know how to do it. So in case it's being done to them, they can recognize it better.
Absolutely. And that is also, that's partially the advantage of youth.
Yeah.
You know, like as a former educator, I understand that people when they're younger, synapses connect faster, right? So they can see things and their brains are more malleable, and they can go, oh, cool, that indicates to me this, right? And that's just language and communication. And it's developed differently with them than it has with us, because I didn't grow up with screens. It blows my mind that I get to touch a screen that moves. You know what I mean? It doesn't. I get it, but like, I have an iPhone. It's on my hat.
Yeah.
But like
there it is.
But it's not second nature to me. Right. And it's also not something that I would have engineered. Right. But to those people, by those people, I mean younger people, what's cool is that to them, that's just communication. That's just language. And to us, it's technology. Right. And it's like, I'm not sure. I want you to check something for yourself. And this is your homework. Okay. You too, Chris. This is homework.
Oh, boy.
Right. If you at all have the ability to lucid dream, look for a telephone that is not connected to a wall. When you're next time you're dreaming, like you guys out on the internet, I want you to do the same thing. And I guarantee you, whether you will be able to conjure one in your dream, it will connect to your generation.
Interesting.
Right? And the reason I say that is because the things that we like when we're dreaming, it's all creative, right? It's just the creative side of our brain. It's not the analytical side of our brain. You can't read a book in your dreams. Spoiler alert. Pick up one, try it. It's fun. You won't be able to, right? Light switches also don't work because those are things that we think of as analytical, right? That's engineering, right? Now, the thing about dreams as a process is that the only things that exist are things that we think of as like kind of installed human like ways of communication, ways of expression, right? That's why like, oh, if I always wanted to fly, I can fly, right? If you didn't have an iPhone as a kid, you're 45, you can't think of it as like, oh yeah, that's just how I communicate with the world. That's not how, you know, but younger people, what's cool, or maybe, I'm not sure if it's cool or not, but
time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. But what is interesting, at least, is that younger people and younger creative people just see technology as, and the internet and all of more advanced technologies as just a part of their expressive connection to the world.
Right.
You know, whereas to me, like when I'm dreaming, it's typewriters. You know what I mean, or like crayons or whatever.
Right.
Right. Like, and I don't mean that jokingly. It's funny, but legitimately, like when you think of like formative things that you express yourself with.
Right.
You
right.
know?
There's like the creativity for somebody who's grown up in a different generation is kind of anchored in what their experience is up until a certain point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's formative.
Yeah.
It's formative. And so if you didn't have those accesses when you were in your formative days, then it just doesn't ever bloom for you.
Right.
So that's a cool part about, again, looking at like the generational stuff and seeing Parks and Raz or some of the younger bands and seeing them be like, oh, check it out, like they're doing stuff, and it's their approach and their connection to it is very different from my approach and my connection to it because they're just generationally different. But when it comes to like skill set, the only thing that they've got to do is just keep on trucking, and they're going to get there, and they're going to be able to be much better players, much better singers, much better writers, and much better communicators than maybe that any of us are, because by the time they catch up to us, by the time they catch up to us in age, they would have had all these advantages that we didn't have.
Right.
Like I had to like listen to records and cassette tapes to try and learn guitar parts,
right?
And so when I'm trying to like figure out how to play these damn parts, and I was into shred metal as a kid, right? So like the notes just fly by, and so when you're trying to learn things that are of very, very high virtuosity, and the notes are just flying by, and you're like, okay, let's say I don't even know what this is, but I'm gonna try and figure out how these notes connect, and then you pick up your instrument and you try, and you like listen to that 3 seconds, then push rewind, push play. Right now, if you want to learn like Marty Friedman solos, or if you want to learn like, let's make it a little simpler, if you want to learn like Southern rock solos, like you want to learn the cool part of Freebird, right? The widdly widdly wee part, right?
What's that one? I don't know any cool part of Freebird.
It's the last 2 minutes.
Yes.
Right? The part that people are actually screaming for, and not the part that you play when they ask for it.
The cool part is when it's over, just so we're clear.
You're right. But I think the guitar solos are pretty rad.
It's a great solo.
The solo's rad. Yeah. But like the widdly widdly wee stuff at the end, is it like you can just go to YouTube and type in Freebird guitar solo tutorial, and then some jerk off on a flat cap is going to be teaching it to you, and he's going to teach it to you pretty note perfect, and it's going to be rad because you, as a young person, you, not me, can just do that, and that's part of your journey now.
Right.
Totally,
man.
It's awesome that that's the case.
And there's even tools even beyond like tutorials. Like for me, I can't learn with tutorials. I am dumb. And people try to explain it to me. I'm like, dude, just play the fucking song. I'll figure it out from there. Right. But like what does help that you can do now much easier than in previous decades is that you can at least slow the track down on YouTube. Right. Whereas back in the day you could, but then they would put quarters on records and weigh it down, but it would change the pitch.
It would change the pitch.
So you had to learn in a different key, and then you'd have to move it up or whatever. Now you can slow the track down. It sounds like garbage. But you can pick out the notes.
You get all those artifacts.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is even like that's kind of how I came up with it too, is like there wasn't tutorials all over YouTube, but you could go on YouTube and slow it down.
Yeah.
And now there's the tutorials, there's like tab websites where you can slow, like the tab will play for you.
And I've seen it.
And all that stuff. And it's like even 10 years past me, there's already a whole nother crop of like ways of learning and stuff.
Certainly.
Like it's moving that quick. It's
like, when I started playing, we didn't even have tabs. We had shape notes, that's it.
Shape notes,
like actual notes.
Oh,
like
gotcha.
Actual notes.
I know.
When was
zero
tab invented? That's
let me rephrase that. It wasn't in every book when I started playing. It probably existed. Do Google it. Check my work on that.
But to your point though, even if it was around, like tabs is so new that even the way that it's written has gotten more sophisticated.
Certainly,
right. From when I first started, it was just the numbers with no rhythmic context, no slide context, nothing. And then now they have like notation for all that.
Yeah, they have notation for like pre-bends on a whammy bar.
Yeah,
and all that sort of stuff. That's really interesting. So, did we find out when tab was made? Was it pre-1983?
It was made in the 15th century.
No, that can't be true because I'm gonna call bullshit on that, and I'll tell you why. because fretted instruments didn't exist then.
No, the lute and Baroque guitar had frets.
Oh, you're right. Okay,
Yeah,
you're right.
And I can put this up, but here's I'll put this on the episode. There's
the
a
show
little,
notes, yeah.
Look, it's right there.
Yeah. Okay. Look at that. Damn. I'm
But
wrong.
it wasn't everywhere. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's the thing. It became popular. Like
I think my problem is I wasn't playing lute.
Same. I always do it with something.
Damn it.
Before 1983. Yeah, actually, like 500 years.
Jokes on you.
Damn it. Okay, you're right. 300 years, and I got. Oh yeah.
However, I can't say how popular Beethoven and stuff was in the 1980s. So the music notation that went alongside of it, also not being popular, doesn't surprise me too much.
So the funny thing about Beethoven is that Beethoven wasn't around in the 16th century, first of all. But second of all, like, and it's going back to the 80s, when I first started playing, Beethoven was my shit.
Yeah.
Like, when I first started playing, like just quick backstory of like where I was when I started, or how I got there, right? It's kind of a two-part thing. The first part was I walked into a Zayre department store, which now is the company that was there is now known as TJ Maxx. It wasn't known as TJ Maxx then, right? So it was a discount store. There was one on Beach Boulevard next to the skate arena, right? So there's a skating rink.
Is it still there, the skating rink?
No, the skating rink and all that stuff is like a screwed up parking lot across the street from the flea market next to the bowling alley.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah.
Right, but that shopping center was like bustling because it was the Zayre and the skate arena were there, right? So I walked into that Zayre, and for some reason, I have no idea why it was there and where it ended up, because it didn't end up in my life. There was this Strat-shaped guitar, definitely not a Strat, with the Commodores, the band The Commodores, airbrushed on it. And I thought, I was 5 years old. It was 1983, and I was looking at it, and I was like, Black Men from Outer Space. I don't know what that thing does, but that is what I want to do forever. Right? Like, that thing is so sweet.
Yeah.
And I begged my parents, and they're like, hell no, we're not buying you that thing. Right? And eventually I got a guitar. So there's that. And that's where like literally age 5, by the end of that year, I was taking guitar lessons. I was in it. And so that was like, the bug was 40 years ago I was in.
That's awesome.
But my parents didn't have money, which is why I didn't get the guitar. But my parents also didn't have a killer record collection. They had a small record collection, but they didn't have a killer record collection. And so my parents were like, you want to play music? You kind of got to listen to music to play music. So like they hit me to the fact that in order to listen to pretty much whatever you want, pre-Spotify, the library was the jam. So I'd catch the city bus and go to the library. And like, it was the 80s, so like, I understand, don't at me with that this is unsafe and your parents should be fired, whatever, man, they're both dead. But the important part is that it was the 80s, and what was considered safe in the 80s is not considered safe now. And I took the city bus alone to the library, and I couldn't read yet, right? So I just knew what bus to take.
When you were like 5?
When I was like 5 and 6, yeah.
That's insane, dude.
And so like, I'm like, fuck it, I'm going. Like, my parents were like, he's going to the library. We know where to find him if we need to,
Yeah.
And so I would do that, right? And I would go there, and like, sometimes my parents would drop me off, but like, if they refused, then like, it wasn't expensive.
It was like 50 cents,
Yeah,
25 cents.
I could do it, So I could go to like Saturday. I got nothing to do. Guitar lessons are over. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to the library. I go to the library, and since I couldn't read, all I did was pick records that I thought the covers were rad, right? And so like, I listened to a lot of Journey because the covers were rad.
Yeah.
I listened to a lot of classical records. Because classical records have all these impressionist paintings or like crazy shit.
True, yeah.
Like most of the Berlioz Symphony Fantastique covers were like paintings of hell. You know what I mean? It's like, look at this, like, dragons and shit. Like, oh man, what is going on? I love this.
Yeah.
And so like, going back to how popular was Beethoven, I don't know how popular he was with everybody else.
Yeah.
But with me, like, seeing like crazy geometric stuff or like crazy like explosions and stuff on album covers, or seeing battlefields, like I'm like, yes, I want that. I don't know what it is, but I'm throwing it on. And so I ended up not having the greatest foundation in like what was popular. Like I would go to school and kids would be like, yo, salt and pepper. I'd be like, I use that shit on my food. What are you talking about? like, but check out this Impilatory record, Yeah. Like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, Chris Impilatory, man, he's got the coolest mullet and he shreds, and they'd be like, and so I only got cool with like just music as like I don't know how to describe it. Like, I guess Franz Liszt would have called it like tone shaping and like just basically like the way that terrace dynamics and things laid on top of each other and like just the sounds that I couldn't identify were exceedingly cool to me. And also really, really high virtuosity was really cool to me. Virtuosic playing was really cool to me. And so like I hip hop was in my neighborhood, Latin music was in my neighborhood because I lived in the projects, but like, or I lived next to the projects. I lived in a house next to the projects. Let's be real, I'm not going to fake the funk.
Yeah.
Right? Right, but like there was lots of hip hop, there was lots of Latin music in my neighborhood, a little bit of jazz in my neighborhood. But I didn't really resonate with that stuff because it was like, man, there's not somebody shredding on whatever instrument they're playing. There isn't like cool and interesting textures coming out of that.
Right.
You know, but I go and I pick up like this thing that got like a bunch of triangles and circles on it, and I'm like, what is this? And then I put it on, and I later find out it's Microcosmos by Bartok. And I'm like, I don't understand any of this stuff. It just sounds like somebody beating a piano in a way that a piano is not supposed to be played, and I don't get it. Right? And in reality, that's exactly what's happening. But it's very meticulous, and it's like, and when I got to college, I was like, I don't know, I got it.
Yeah.
You know, because then I could like get into understanding better the idea of composition and things of that nature, and why like really out-sounding stuff is compelling or can be
Right.
compelling if you're hip.
Yeah.
If you're not hip to it, it can be very off-putting, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like there's music that's hard to play, there's music that's hard to listen to, and then there's music that's both.
Yeah.
And Bartok's Microcosmos is both. You know, it's like if you aren't ready to be like shocked by it, it's not cool for you, right?
I've never even heard it before.
Oh, it's nuts a lot. It's kind of like etude-esque.
Okay.
And it's like it's kind of a like a almost an etude book, but it's a bunch of really like rough, like lots of minor seconds, lots of major sevenths, and just weird stuff, and like, and it's hard as hell to play, and it's like in 30 seconds it's over.
Yeah.
And then you're on to the next one, and it's like, and it's yeah. So check it out. Like if you want to really screw up your Spotify logarithm or algorithm, that's a great way to do it. But it's killer. Like it's really, really interesting. And that, like I'd see stuff like that, and I'd be like, I don't get it. And I mean, I would look at the record, and I'd be like, whoa, there's like so many songs on this thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then it'd be the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, next one. You know, and yeah. So that stuff was all really interesting to me, and it really screwed up. Screwed up's not the right word, but it put a bend on how I approach things.
Yeah.
Because being so into classical music, which I eventually got my degree in classical music, and also being like hearing different instruments and different tones, just kind of piling onto each other, making really interesting textures, really made me kind of, way before it was cool, way before it was even a concept, kind of dismiss the idea of genre. And I gave no shits about it. You know, when people would be like, yo, are you into this? And I'd be like, I don't know, play it. And then I'd listen to whatever. And sometimes I'd be in and sometimes I'd be out, you know? Like if it was, I don't know, like there was a lot of Miami bass here in the 80s, right? Like that kind of hip hop was really popular, and I wasn't in. I was like, okay. Monophonic bass lines played by an 808.
Yeah.
You know, and boom, 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 I'm not down. You know, I am now, but then I was like, I don't get it. I don't want to dance. Those dudes they're not speaking to me.
Yeah.
You know, but then I would hear like, there was a guy who lived at the end of my street, who was a jazz upright player. He was really good friends with Bunky Green. So the guy's name was Al Daniels. And I would just like be skateboarding outside, and Al would be listening to like, I don't know, Coltrane or something, you know, listening to impressions, and it's like hearing those chords. Even when you get it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that's like ba, 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 ba. It's like, what the hell is going on there? And you know, and he's listening to the record and just jamming, and I'm like, I don't know what Al's doing, but I want to go talk to him. You know, I don't want to talk to these kids who are listening to Africa Bambaataa. Yeah, I'll talk to them later, but I want to talk to Al. You know, and so it's really interesting to see how what that turned into, and it kind of speaking of formative stuff and how you communicate, like that kind of became how I communicate musically. It is like I only want to play music that is compelling to me.
Right.
And I only want to play with people that I think are good hangs. Right? Money will figure it out, you know? And you know, like here it is the hack for all the people who ever want to hire me to do anything. If I dig who's on the gig, if I dig the gig, I will do it for almost nothing. Right? If it's like, man, we're playing a gig and Anton's gonna be there and Chris is gonna be there and Juan Roland's gonna be there and I don't know, let's pick some cool, like Stan Piper's gonna be on bass,
Yeah.
and
Stefan will show
Stefan's
up.
gonna play drums,
Yeah.
but me and him,
kazoo.
and I'm
Yeah.
gonna play drums too, and we're both gonna like trade.
Yeah,
like
totally.
it's gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll do that for $5 and a hot dog and a handshake. Man.
Yeah.
Let's do it, right? But if it's like, hey man, it's like it's a car show. The guys in the band are all kind of nerds, and they really don't really learn.
Let's drop some names. So who don't we want to play with?
Who don't?
Stefan, Stan Piper, Juan Roland.
Yeah,
They're all
Anton.
we're all nerds, dude. Come on.
and they're gonna play, and they want you to play Mustang Sally for 45 minutes, and I'm like, that's gonna cost you $800.
Yeah.
You know, and so like. That's the thing. That's a thing for me. Is like that has just turned into, and that has nothing to do with genre, right? Because like if somebody's like, "Hey, man, there's like this electronic artist that you may or may not be hip to, but they're doing cool stuff. Will you come play with it?" If it's cool, even if I'm not fully versed in like I don't know what that person's doing, you know, if they're doing like noise stuff or they're doing like I'm not so plugged into. I'm trying to find something in my brain. Like I'm not so plugged into like two-step drum and bass.
Yeah.
Right. I know it exists, but I'm not. I don't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like maybe Jojo Mayer would be the better drummer, but like he's not available, so I guess it's me, right?
Yeah.
And that stuff's really like I would do it, and I would have fun doing it, you know. And similarly, if somebody was like, I get that this is not so hip, but I love it. If somebody's like, hey man, I just need you to come sit in on a Telecaster and play with this like shit kicking 90s country band. Like I don't like listening to that music, really. But man, do I love playing it.
It's fun to play.
It's so much
know,
fun.
dude.
So much fun. You like you wouldn't get from the hat and the boots that's not like, you know, like not what I rock in my
What you
truck.
listen to on the way over here?
Yeah, it's not. I did listen to country music, but it wasn't that, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's playing it is so much fun, you know? And those two things, like two-step, you know, electronic music and shit kicking 90s country couldn't be more different. But I am so happy to do either because I'm happy to be in music that is compelling with people that are good hangs.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a thing that maybe we don't talk, like not we, but like people don't talk about enough.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic, I think, that exists. I don't know. Well, let me.
Yeah, get a sip, man. Water. If you don't drink it, you'll die.
That's tequila.
That's
Tequila. If you don't drink it,
You'll die.
at this point in my life, dude. No, but I don't know if this is a unique trait to musicians or not, but certainly it's a quality amongst artists where I think that because we're lucky enough to get to do what we love for a living, at least in some capacity, we've also adopted this interesting dynamic where money can become secondary to the experience of creating.
certainly.
Right? So now if someone's hitting, like to your point, if I'm getting hit up to do a wedding gig, then it really doesn't matter who's on the gig. I know that I want X amount of dollars because I know what the end result is going to be.
Absolutely.
Now, if we're talking about like Blue Jay Listening Room with the same lineup that we
Shout
just
out to
talked
Kara.
about, shout out to Kara, then I would absolutely, and I got called for that gig on a Tuesday night jam or like a Monday night jam or something.
Yeah.
I don't need $1 for that.
100%.
Just because I know the players that are going to be there are killer. I know that we're going to be improvising, creating something on the spot.
Yeah.
And I know that everybody on both those nights are like friends of mine, as much as musicians can be, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
yeah. There's some people you played on a gig one time with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're your best friends.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely that.
And it's it's weird because like something that I've learned in like putting together my own bands over the years is like, okay, cultivate a cool environment and offer up like a creative space in the context of like writing and stuff, and then furthermore offer up like cool gigs,
Absolutely.
where like festivals or touring or whatever it might be. And, you know, are we recording and doing studio stuff? Well, these are all things that legitimately most people in the world will never get to do. And then further, like, even most musicians that start bands don't even take on half of these things I just mentioned.
Absolutely.
So if you're creating that kind of environment along with a good hang, the music really is kind of secondary.
Sure.
And like the money totally becomes secondary.
Yeah, the music I don't think is secondary, but I think the music totally is.
Yeah. Well, you mean the money?
The money is.
Yeah,
the money
yeah.
is secondary. The music is not.
Music's not secondary, but I will say that's, but like kind of to your point, I'm not a country guy.
Right.
It's not even my favorite thing to listen to.
Sure.
Right. But I will play in a country band.
Yeah.
With the right people.
Hell yeah, you would.
So you know, I can pretty any music really for me, like as long as the people are cool and there's like stuff happening, like we're gonna be like recording, especially. I love fucking recording, dude.
Yeah.
That's like my that's my fucking on button right there, dude.
I love it.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
So it's like I'll do whatever the gig is at that point. If I know we're cool and we're like we're writing tunes and we're like recording shit.
And you're creating and you get to layer things.
Yeah.
You get to create the whatever the texture is that the
Yeah.
stuff that turned me on as a child.
Yeah, dude.
It's exactly
the,
that.
the reason that you started playing music in the first place.
Exactly that.
I talk to musicians that are so kind of jaded and just succumbing to the cover band thing or whatever, and look, it pays my bills. I'm not
Right.
talking shit about the grind.
No.
We all got to do what we got to do.
gotta eat.
But like when I see musicians that aren't even willing to fathom a creative endeavor, I'm like, did you start doing this so you could play fucking, you know, Journey Mustang Sally,
Yeah.
or like whatever it is, like, you know, or did you want to create something?
Absolutely.
You know, just because maybe you get to a certain point in your life where it's like, even if there's no end game for the creative project, it's just the experience of creating itself. That's what it's all about.
100%. I think that is so important. I think that people need to people who are creative need to realize that if they aren't driven to create, then they should go do something else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like energized to make something, right? Like if let's put music aside just for a sec. If you're a painter and if you call yourself a painter and you wake up in the morning and you don't want to put paint to canvas, you're not a painter, nor should you be. If you want or call yourself a writer and you wake up in the morning, you don't want to write, you probably shouldn't be a writer, you know? And if you wake up in the morning and you are a writer and you don't get to write and you have to go to your accountant job and it pisses you off, you are a writer.
Yeah. So I want to parse through this a little bit because I like this sentiment, but also I think that there's a different interpretation of it, because I do think that whether you're a creative person or you know when you are a creative person, I think that there are lulls in when you feel inspired to create. There are days where I wake up and I don't even want to look at my guitar.
Sure.
Right? Now, there's a quote that I heard recently. I can't remember who the quote was by, but I thought it was brilliant. And it was like, I think it was inspiration is for amateurs.
Yep.
And what's the second half of that quote, dude? It like nails it perfectly. But like the work is for the professionals or whatever it is. You know, the act of doing the thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
is for so it's like, I think that it, yes, even if you don't want to write or do whatever it is that day, you're still the thing. But do you get up even when you don't want to do it and do it?
Yes.
And that's the thing
Yes.
right there.
I know you've been doing Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And more from a boxing point of view, that there is the ethos that the fight is won in the gym, right? And I feel like as musicians, the fight is won in the practice room. The fight is won on the fact that we bothered to pick up the damn thing at all.
Exactly.
And if of course there's going to be days when you don't want to play guitar. Of course there are, you know, because like maybe you played the car show yesterday with those dudes that we talked about.
Yeah.
You didn't want to. Shout out to car shows. They're actually pretty fun. I've played some really great ones with Bo and the Burners, and I love it. Let's do that more. We're doing it soon. But
You want to plug it?
no, I don't have the date in my mind. But we are playing the Callahan Cruisers Toys for Tots one, and it's cool. That one's always
hell
cool.
yeah, that's cool.
You know, it's like I get to play fun rockabilly music with good hangs, and
Good cause.
yeah, and it's a good cause. Like I love that checks so many boxes.
Yeah.
And I'm not actually shitting on car shows. Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Sorry about car people. Don't if you haven't tuned out, please don't tune out now.
Yeah.
Stay with us. But like, yeah, maybe yesterday you played the crappy gig. Maybe you played at Denny's yesterday and you just don't love it. You know,
Right.
and it's like today you're like, Denny's still resonates in my soul and I don't want to do it. Right.
Yeah.
You should still pick it up and do it. You need to do it.
Yeah, totally.
You know, because if you don't fight through the times when you don't want to do it, then you aren't rewarded with the ability to do the times that you do want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're going to get in the ring and get your ass knocked out.
Yeah, totally.
You know? Or you're just going to show up and flub a bunch of bad notes, which is a musical equivalent, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get up there and you're not going to have a good creative day. You're not going to have, by the time you are inspired, like maybe you've lost so much, you know?
Yeah, totally. And this is something that I feel I experienced when I had Side Hustle, because this is like when you're like running a band independently and like you're not whatever, there's a lot of hats that you wear. And then
Certainly.
for me in Side Hustle, what started to fail was the musicality for me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I started like I wasn't practicing the way that I should. I was like just botching gigs, and I was like, is the music wasn't particularly like easy music to play, so it was like, you know, you had to be on top of it. And ultimately, you know, there's many reasons why that project failed, but I think that was a big part of it. And in that experience, what I've learned is almost counter to what we were talking about earlier about, you know, being able to do all these different aspects of the thing.
Sure.
I think that remembering what the most important part of the whole thing is and making sure that's always priority is your craft.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, and now as I've gone through this whole experience, I'm like, you know, making more of an effort to like practice every day and, you know, write when I have like I should be focusing more on writing. I'm just practicing a lot right now. But either way, like I think that, you know, waking up and just making your thing like the craft, that's your purpose.
100%. If whatever the central focus is, needs to be the crown jewel. It needs to be the thing that stays polished and stays sharp and stays clear. Absolutely.
The rest falls into place.
It certainly does. But that doesn't mean ignore those things.
No, totally.
Because you still have to do those things like I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who started Patagonia, who's whatever his name is, I'm not even going to bother. The guy who started Patagonia has a really interesting point of view on preparedness. And he's like, I started Patagonia because I wanted to make good outdoor clothing, and that's my 100%. But everything else is a 90%. And he talks about like, oh, you know, I'm not a mountain climber, but you know, I'm 90% proficient at mountain climbing. I'm not a skier, but I can do that 90%. I can, you know what I mean? And what's cool is like is taking that mentality of definitely taking the one thing that you think of as the centerpiece, and really, really focusing and keeping it and winning that fight in the gym. But then the other things, just getting them enough that they don't seem like an afterthought, or they don't seem like crappy because you didn't give them any
totally
respect.
Yeah.
You know, like the thing about building skills is that even if you don't want to think of a skill as your primary, which is probably a good idea to not think of all skills as your primary, because it's a good idea. Nobody can, like, it's a bad idea to spread yourself so thin. But despite the fact that I do it, is that you can still like get a bunch of skills and get at least enough proficiency that you're not an embarrassment to it. You know what I mean? You have to give it dignity. You have to give it,
of course,
respect.
because it's a real skill set. And
Absolutely.
that somebody else does, you know, make their primary purpose.
Certainly.
And then furthermore, especially as an artist or a musician, I'll speak in the context of musicians, but like we have to work with so many different creative people outside of music. So when you're developing flyers or promo material, whatever it might be, if you're doing music video stuff or engineering in the studio, to have a basic understanding of all of it if nothing for nothing more than just to be able to communicate
100%.
to people, you know.
Yes.
All right, guys, this episode's brought to you by Best Buds CBD Store. If you're like me, maybe THC isn't always the right high for you, or maybe the legal status of THC has you a bit hesitant to indulge. So at Best Buds CBD Store, they have an array of CBD and Delta 8 THC products. These guys truly care about their service, so everything is meticulously sourced and prepared to deliver a top-notch product and experience. If you head to their website, you'll find all kinds of educational information regarding Delta THC and CBD. Not to mention, if you use promo code BotBPod, that's BOTB pod, you'll save 10% on your order. This is not a one-time deal. If you use promo code BotBPod, every time you place an order with Best Buds, it will give you 10% off. That's in perpetuity, forever. So head over to bestbudscbdstore.com and start saving on all of your CBD and Delta 8 products. Enjoy, guys.
One of my pet peeves, and I think you'll understand this as somebody who does recordings. I'm not calling anybody out. I love everybody I've ever worked with. They're all great people. One of the things that really bugs me sometimes is when there is an easy fix to a problem and the other person just doesn't like have the vocabulary to just tell you what the fix is.
Right.
You know? So like if you deliver somebody a mix, right? And they go, "Oh, the snare drum doesn't sound good." I'm like, "Well, that's your snare drum. You tuned it." You know, like I just put a microphone on it. You tell me what you want, you know, and I can go back. I can compress it. I can bring it up in the mix. I can bring it down in the mix. I can EQ it. What's wrong with it? Like, and they're like, "I don't know. It just doesn't sound right."
Yeah.
And then it's like, "What do you mean? Like, tell me more." You're like, it just doesn't sit right with how I feel. And it's like, this is a terrible decision.
Yeah, this gives me nothing.
Yeah, I can't fix it if you can't tell me what our problem is, you know, and that is a part of, if you are going to be part of, like, if you had the 90% of proficiency, you could at least go, it might be, it's definitely an amplitude thing and not a frequency thing. Be like, okay, cool, maybe it's compression, maybe it's just not up front, maybe it's too loud, you know, like, even if they don't have it all the way to go, yeah, man, it's just take out some 2K, it's poking me in the forehead, you know, like, if they don't have that, that's fine. If they're just like, it's just kind of bright, I don't know, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And like I know that I'm guilty of it when it comes to visual medium, you know, and I've, you know, work with people in visual mediums, and I'm just like, I don't know, man, it looks funny,
Yeah.
you know, and like I'm sorry, I'll work on it. I will try and find out what the vocabulary is, but I don't have it.
Yeah.
You know, but if I don't have the vocabulary and I don't know why I have a feeling, then I try not to complain.
That's interesting.
I because if I don't, like, if I can't say it, if I can't go, oh yeah, this thing just doesn't sit right with me, it's not like it's not like a third party would also have the vocabulary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and so I don't have it's uncomfortable for me to be like, I'm going to complain about this thing that I feel like everybody else should also feel. Mm-hmm. You know, if I can't bring you a possible actual complaint, then I don't have it. You
So
know what I mean?
Totally. And here's, I've been very lucky over the years in working with like, you know, you get I get comfortable with that certain point with people because this is a weird industry, and there's,
Sure.
you know, personalities and, you know, just creative stuff. So I've been working with the same engineer
Yep.
for, you know, 10 years.
That's great.
Now. And the reason why is because he's so like patient and, you know, has helped me understand the vocabulary in the studio to at least a work. Like, there's still so much that I don't know. I hate engineering with an absolute passion. It is the bane of my existence when I have to record anything myself.
I get it.
Right. So, but in all that, I do love the production process, right? So I like to sit behind the engineer, and just be the extra ears and saying what I want, what I don't want. Now,
Absolutely.
in that process, shout out to Jay, who does our YouTube stuff too, but has done all of the side hustle stuff and, you know, other records for me. So, he if I don't like something, he'll sit there. Okay, let's mess with this and see what that is. Or, okay, does that sound better? Yeah, what did you do there?
Right.
And then they inform you.
Yeah.
And then now you make a note. So next time, this is what I don't want to hear. This is what I actually want to hear.
That's exactly right.
You know?
And that's how you get to the 90%.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't have the ability to give that person's job the dignity to learn it, then you're screwing up as somebody who's asking something of them.
Exactly.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think you're doing it right, and I think that's the way to do it. The way not to do it is to be like, I don't know, man, it just feels funny, and fix it. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And then you're Rick Rubin, and then everybody complains about your work methods, even if they can't argue with your output.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, and that's also why if you do a little bit of digging at all of your favorite producers who aren't Rick Rubin, sorry Rick, is you'll find that so many of your favorite producers of any genre, it doesn't matter, are just great engineers who got tired of listening to producers not communicate and not tell them what they needed to do, and they're like, I just made this good, and that producer didn't do anything,
right?
And it's like, and that guy got a credit in 3 points, and I got
an hourly rate.
Yeah, I got the day rate, and then now I feel like garbage because that guy's like famous, and I did all the work.
So this is an interesting. No, if you want to go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just clearing my throat.
Well, this is an interesting thing that we've talked about a little bit on the show, but the difference and understanding the difference between a producer and an engineer, and how as time has gone on, engineers kind of become the producer.
Certainly.
But man, there are so many engineers out there that just don't have the care in them
Absolutely.
to be a producer, and the hats are very different.
They are
because a producer needs to be the extra set of ears and needs to see the product before the product is even really fully fleshed out.
Yeah,
right?
it's a creative undertaking, whereas being an engineer is nearly a mechanical.
It's mechanical. It's just it's pushing buttons and understanding the mathematics of it all.
Mic placement, phase cancellation and correction,
yes, all that stuff.
Those things.
And then and granted, the reason why it's good to have that extra set of ears is because the engineer is busy doing all the other things.
Yes.
Where it's like they can't always give you the attention to the detail that you're going to need. So you might just do a take, and you might be, I don't know, what do you think? It's like, I was fucking with the compression on this thing. It sounded fine to me, dude.
Absolutely.
And you're like, okay. And then you go back and listen to it a couple days later, and you're like, well, that sucked. And we've torn the drums down already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's good to have the extra set of ears on there. But I think like the best job security that you can have is an engineer that really cares about every project they take on.
Absolutely.
To have those extra ears. Nothing is less disheartening. Or more disheartening, I guess, than an engineer who just you can tell is phoning it in.
Oh yeah,
just pressing record. Okay, what did you guys think? Okay, sounds fine.
It's the sound guy that line checks the band and then goes and gets a cigarette.
Yeah,
but he's actually making your record, which is
that's scary.
But that's also why the very best producers that I can, or best is not the word, the producers that I prefer the work of generally are both. Right?
Like who?
Butch Vig can place a microphone, can do his job, but also knows what a good performance is and what a good song is. Steve Albini, same deal. And that guy, what I love about Steve Albini's work is that Steve Albini isn't afraid of what I guess Stravinsky would call the aesthetics of ugliness, right? He can take everything doesn't have to be beautiful. It can just be right.
Right. Right.
And what I think is really interesting about so many producers and also engineers is that they get really hung up or dedicated to the idea of what right is. Mm-hmm. That they if they don't have a creative hat to put on, or if they don't have a producer's hat to put on, then maybe they lose the idea that maybe if it sounds good, it is good, or if it sounds bad but appropriate, it's still good.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if you guys have albeit the recent anniversary release of In Utero, but they re-released it with Steve Albini's original masters and not just the ones that the label wanted.
Okay.
Right? And they're way trashier and dirtier, but it's got way more teeth to it.
Yeah,
it sounds so more badass, And that record was great regardless, But Steve didn't get to put out the record he wanted because the label had wants, you know,
Right.
and they're like, well, if we're coming off of Nevermind with that super glossy Butch Vig style production, then we kind of want that, and they kind of like, you know, corrected some things and nudged some things, and you know, that was never Kurt Cobain's thing. You know what I mean? That was the label's thing. And,
Right.
you know, and that was never Steve Albini's thing. That was the label's thing, because Steve Albini didn't give a shit what the label wanted. He wanted to do what the artist wanted.
Right.
You know, and so like if you get a chance, or if you can get your hands on it, or it might be on Spotify as it's as it is on the vinyl. But if you get a chance, listen to the anniversary release of it, because it's a very, and if definitely AB it and like check out how much more teeth it has, how much more like rough edges, but not like unintentional rough edges. Completely, they're decisions.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Like the guitars are so much growlier and like zippery and you know, and like less mid scooped, and it's pretty beautiful.
Now, are they the same takes? Do you know?
Yes,
Okay.
they are. They're just with his lack of nudging and Pro Tools-ishness, right? And also with his mix. Like they sent it to somebody else to mix it after that. He had an interview about it before the release, and that was essentially what he said. Was was that he was glad that they got to do an anniversary release, and that Courtney Love was cool with it, because he like it didn't matter what he thinks, right? Because he's that kind of guy who's just like, he's like, you know, I want all parties to be happy, and
Right.
as a producer / engineer, it's not really my job to be happy. It's my job to deliver the correct thing.
Right.
You know, but it's really interesting that was his point of view on it, was that well, it's not what I would have done, but you know, but it's what you guys want. I gave you what you want.
Well, it takes a certain kind of sophistication in an artist to set aside their ego.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, to
You
take those
know?
lumps and be like, no, it doesn't matter. It's not about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's.
I feel like every musician needs to take that same approach when it comes to their
Amen.
to the writing in a creative project, because like it's, yes, I mean, you know, we do create and write because that's something in us, and it is a reflection of who we are, and blah 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 and all that bullshit fucking hippy dippy stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But like also that when you get into a collaborative process, everybody else has the same feeling about it.
Yes.
And if we all trust that we have the best intention in mind, then at least give it a thought, right?
Absolutely.
Give it the respect,
Yeah.
and your bandmate the respect that they've earned in playing in band with you.
Absolutely.
That their creative choice might be better than yours, or just
Absolutely.
might work better in that situation.
100%. It's the Coltrane Elvin Jones like in service of music only thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like if you listen to the American takes of Love Supreme, it's like there's so much space in some of that stuff, and it's like, oh, it's so beautiful, because while anybody on that session could have had the complete carte blanche to do so and ability to just blow chops and, you know, whatever, they all just were like, nah, man, it's cool. Like, it's like, oh shit, yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's nothing else, like there's no weird comping, it's just like, no, let's let it feel like it has a rhythm. Let's let it feel like it has a current.
Yeah.
You know? And so then when Train comes in, boo da da boo da da, it's like, oh shit, yeah, it feels so good.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being like, oh yeah, you guys are doing it. Mm-hmm. I feel that 2 and 4, man.
Yeah.
That Mozambique ride cymbal is real dope. Like, and he does that later. You know what I mean? He does it in the third movement. But man, it's like he doesn't have to like come out the gate with that shit. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like, man, yes, service to music is so important, and being able to like give other people space to express themselves, and also knowing when you're given that space and then using it in a way that is not about you.
Yeah.
And is about the tune or about the medium is paramount. It's beautiful when it happens, and it's awful when it doesn't.
Yeah,
you know, when
totally.
people climb over. I get it. I said I was a shred metal kid, but like that's why I'm not a shred metal adult. You know.
Well, it's also like it's a different thing, right? Like when you're improvising and building something, then we can get to the shred, or maybe we don't get to the shred, whatever it calls for, right?
Absolutely.
You know, when you're writing parts and it's very meticulated and it's all, you know, thought out, then that's a different thing.
Yeah.
If it calls for it, it calls for it. But I think that, like, you know, when you're in the moment, really just like relinquishing all of your intuition to the moment.
Absolutely.
And just allowing the music to tell you what needs to be played. Now, this is an ideal situation.
Certainly,
right?
we aren't all Miles Davis where we can learn everything, then forget that shit and play. Like,
right.
yeah, I get that.
And then also, we're not always playing with the right people,
100%.
and we're not always on in our own like personal life that carries on to the gig or whatever it might be. We're just not always on.
You're right.
Right. But you know, those moments when you are on, and everyone's right there, dude. It happens like once or twice a year, if that.
Yeah, when you take the entire conversation we've had and put it into one moment.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
When you have the good players in the good room with the $5 you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Right? And the audience is in tune, and you've actually spent the time to actually learn to just be able to not learn. Let's get learning out of it. To just be able to just communicate, and to just let this thing that's in your hands to be the thing, like the delivery of whatever it is you're feeling and whatever you and the people around you are trying to communicate. Shit's rad.
Yeah.
It's the best, you know?
It's unlike anything else.
And that's when music as a performance becomes truly nonverbal. And you can just look at the homie and be like, you know what I mean? And it's not just a, hey man, I appreciate you, or hey, you want to go get crystals after this. It's a hey man, we're taking this up a half step. You ready to modulate?
Yeah.
2, 5, 1, and C. Go, and we're there. You know, and everybody gets it. Everybody feels cool, and it's just somehow you knew that, and no one said it beforehand. And
Exactly.
it's rad.
It's a feeling that's just like, I don't even. You just can't put it into words.
You really can't. You really can't. Like I don't believe in God, but that's the closest thing to religion that I get.
Yeah,
you know?
same.
It's like I've tried all that shit in my life, and none of it worked. You know what I mean? I begged God to show up every day of my life as a child and as a teenager, and he never showed up. But you know what did? Music did.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And when the homies on the stage showed up, it was awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's like, I even played at his house a couple times, you know?
Yeah.
God.
Still do every week.
Yeah, I've done it a bunch.
He pays cash, man. He's all good with
does.
me. He's cool. He's chill.
The check's always clear. I love that. But and he always has nice drums and pianos too, man. It's weird.
Always. It's kind of crazy.
His guitar amps often suck, but like it's fine.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I've always had like this kind of, and we don't have to get too spiritual or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I've always had like a very agnostic kind of view of all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I stopped believing in fairy tales when I was like 8.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine. Hot take. Sorry, unpopular opinions.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Yeah. But I think, you know, if there's there was certainly a time in my life, maybe certainly a time in my life when I was like very atheist. Like I was like,
Sure.
there's like
Sure.
fucking once you die, it's just black.
That's
and
me now.
it.
Yeah.
Music, I think, has actually taken me a bit of the other direction.
I could dig that.
Not in a sense where it's like, you know, certainly not in a Western idea of religion.
Sure.
However, there's experiences in those moments of that oneness where you're like, dude, this is like, no one here is thinking or communicating in any other way than just what's happening musically right now. And it's just like, I don't know, like that's such a feeling of like peace and like
It's all hippie shit, but it's great hippie shit.
That's what it is.
You know what I mean?
Dude,
It's peace, it's tranquility, it's
Yeah.
togetherness, it's all the things that the Beatles and all those dudes from the 60s who did a bunch of drugs told us that we needed.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, killer. I love it. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yeah, it is the best stuff. And I can't attribute that to religion. I can't, or to
Yeah.
God or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
To a
yeah.
creator, because I just can't do it. But that's also admittedly just me being an asshole, which is fine. Like I don't need.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, I think people can like just, you can get to a certain place or you can't, right?
Certainly,
And
certainly.
they're just like, you know, whatever makes sense to you is what makes sense
Absolutely.
to you.
And I envy that. Like, sidebar real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
I envy the shit out of people who are true believers. I
Yeah.
envy them so much because that ain't me.
Yeah.
You know? And like when I see people like break down crying because something touched their soul, Like, I don't know what that means. I tried. It didn't work. But man, that seems like the coolest shit ever. Like,
Yeah.
they're just like, yes, touch me, Lord. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, and maybe, like, hopefully I'm playing at an AME church so I get to play a praise break at that point. Like, hopefully that's what's happening. If not, I just get to watch it on TV or something. But it's rad. And I think those people, I think they have great experiences, and I'm glad that they do. I'm just not one of them.
Yeah, no, I feel that, bro. I'm the same way where I can't get there.
Yeah, no
right?
way.
Like that to me, like the only thing that makes sense to me is like I don't know.
Yeah, nowhere near it, man.
And that's like where I've just kind of been at a stage of my life where it might change. Maybe I'll get all the way there one day, or maybe I'll go back the other way. I don't know. But like where I'm at right now is just like I've just said I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just gonna leave it there for right now. I'm tired of contemplating it so much. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's, like, the good news about that is that regardless of whether we do or don't do that, we still have something that can unite us in a way that, that all those things are supposed to.
Yeah, man. And that's like the coolest thing about like music, I feel like.
Absolutely.
Is that you go to a show.
Yep.
And there's, whether it's 10 people in the crowd or 1,000 people in the crowd, you're when you're an audience member, you're looking at the stage and you're surrounded by people that you may or may not agree with, except on this one moment you agree that we all love this thing happening right here.
Exactly that. And that's, as a person with the furthest left of anyone I know politics, right? Like, I'm a filthy bastard communist. Like, it's true, right? And I'm not afraid to admit it. And like my when I registered to vote, I was a part of the Communist Party until Florida decided that they didn't exist anymore, right? And, which is fine, whatever, man. Florida has a lot of funny ideas. Yeah.
Goofy.
Yeah, it's funny that way, But so, like, and that's fine, right? But but also, let's take that and then look at my life as it exists as a professional right now. I call myself Jackie Stranger. I'm a singer-songwriter who does Americana and country music, right? I'm also a brown person who is also the son of 2 immigrants, one of which was illegal at one point, right? Me and my audience don't agree on a lot of things sometimes.
Sure.
But you know what we do agree on? That I make them feel shit when I play. And they get it. And I get it. And I don't have to, like, fight them about it. You know what I mean? We can just, I wasn't going to fight those people anyways. You know what I mean? Like, part of having pretty radical beliefs in America in 2023 means that you have to let a lot of shit go.
Yeah.
And well, either that or you have to, like, run yourself into the ground. And I did that a lot in my 20s. I'm too old for that shit now.
Yeah.
And so now when the conversation comes, I'll have the conversation, but what's more important to me is that I try and put good things and positivity and connectivity in the world. And what's so rad is that even if somebody is, like, super Q-y and Trumpy, right, they can listen to me play tunes that have nothing to do with that, and we didn't come to talk about that anyways, and we can still be cool with those tunes.
Yeah, we can agree on this thing here.
Or we can all go watch somebody who we all admire, and we can take whatever that thing is from, like putting myself back in that category. Like, if we go see Rambler Kane play, right? Like, if you see Pat play, if you see Patrick Kane play and you don't feel something, you don't have a...
Yeah, you're soulless.
But not only are you soulless, you're probably an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, the guy just, like, he's trying to, and very well getting you, like, trying to touch a part of you that maybe has been hardened over so much division and so much disagreement and so much, like, all the bullshit of the world, by the fact that you had to pay your bills and you're, like, either you're super let down by the world, or your mom didn't let you take the Beamer. Whichever pissed you off, Pat is still there to soothe that.
Right.
And if you show up and you don't feel it, then you're an asshole. But if you are in that room, it doesn't matter what you believe, because, like, the only good old days is now, and that tune kicks ass. And if you're in there, you can feel it, and we can all agree that, like, this moment and that sentiment in that tune works.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's like what it had to have been like to hear Coltrane play Love Supreme.
Yeah.
It had to have been that way. If you saw that shit live, like it had to have been transformative, right? Even if not religious, it had to be transformative where you're just like, oh God, these dudes are communicating so much and they're leaving so much space for just me to feel it and not cramming a bunch of notes in there, not cramming a bunch of anything else, you know, and then it happens, you know.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
just
it's
radiating.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
Like,
radiating
That's
positivity.
the shit with music, man. Like if you aren't on board, get on board because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, music kicks ass.
These fucking people that have shitty opinions about not liking music at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, are you fucking like out of your fucking mind?
Yeah, they are, but it's fine. Like
I mean, you must. I mean, what a miserable existence that must be.
certainly, but hopefully for those people, they have something else to fill that void. Maybe they're just like, I really like Star Trek, man. That's what I'm into.
We should
and like that's cool.
We should put all those people on an island somewhere and just let them be miserable amongst themselves.
No. 'Cause without miserable people, who do I have to take inspiration from?
My own misery, I guess.
Oh, me too. But like, you know, like sometimes I want to write in the third person.
Yeah.
If we put them on an island, who's going to shout Freebird at your bar gig next week?
Exactly. So here, a fun hack for that thing, like, is don't ever do this. Is to just play the tune and then but say like, hey, this is the last tune of the night. I was gonna play another 10, 20 minutes, but this dude asked for Freebird, and then just do it.
Yeah.
And then like I get that that's not fun,
I don't like that.
but I'll tell you what, nothing will turn that audience on that dude faster.
Yeah. For sure.
And you won't even get through the first verse before they're like, please don't.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is the extended cut too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're playing the 14-minute version, man. Not that 11-minute version.
And then also botch it while you're at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah.
play it really bad.
Yeah, I'm on a solo acoustic gig, and you want to hear Freebird. No, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that with an acoustic in my hand. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll play each part individually, and it'll be a 45-minute process. I'll play guitar one and then circle around and do it again and
I'm
give
down.
you the second
I'm
one.
down. Yeah.
We're working on getting shirts made for the podcast
Yeah.
that say, I yelled Freebird at a bar.
Oh, perfect.
Or like I'm with someone who yelled Freebird at a bar.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
I'm going to start throwing them out at gigs and just like having them with me. Anytime someone yells at me, this, you've earned this.
Yes, exactly that. So real quick, just an aside, just to like derail it with some positivity.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen LPT play Freebird.
No.
It
I have actually.
fucking rules.
I'll
Yeah,
bet.
man, that shit's cool.
Because
as
you don't
fuck.
have a guitar player.
Yeah.
You know, and they just do it. And they do the harmonized guitar parts with a horn section.
Does Josue sing it?
Yeah.
Really?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, that's
So,
fucking dope. And
yeah.
how clever is that? Like
Yeah.
the one salsa band in Jacksonville that's going to go up and fucking do like the Jacksonville anthem.
Yeah, we played the fair together last year, and this 2022. I'm not sure when you're watching this, but it was 2022. We played the fair together, and like I wasn't playing in LPT, but I was playing before LPT. I stuck around because why wouldn't you, right? And to give Jacksonville the one thumbs up that I'm going to give it this time. That was the first time that a non-country act had headlined the fair. In like 30 years or something.
Wow.
Right. So I thought that was rad, you know, and I was glad it wasn't me who took that from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, shit, yeah, boys, like y'all, they're doing it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's just nothing but the killinest dudes, the dudes who earned it. Like that band rules. I love
Yeah.
every member of that band. I want to hug them all right now.
Yeah.
It's great. But they were like, well, you know, here we are, and we're playing the fair. There's nothing more Jacksonville, and maybe, you know, slightly more like Southern rock than playing the fair in Jacksonville.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Which, like, I'm not hating on that. I'm about to play the fair a shitload of times this year. You know, but what I think is cool is like it's like cool. That's why they learned it.
Right.
And Angel did a fantastic job of transcribing it and like arranging it. And I think I think they did a masterful job. I think it's really beautiful. If you get a chance, you know, do it. And if you see LPT, don't be afraid to scream Freebird because they will play it
Yeah.
probably, and it's gonna rule.
So it's like a salsa version of Freebird?
Kinda. I mean, it's a. Well,
Or do they do like it like
no. They don't play it like a rock band. But so, I think you'll understand this. I have an issue with pigeonholing what
Yeah.
incorrectly identifying ethnic musics.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's more of a rumba /, like, bossa kind of thing.
Okay.
At least in the slow part. You know what I mean? Because it's not a salsa tune.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
Right.
It's a slower tune. You know what I mean? So it's more of a bossa, more of a rumba, not quite a salsa.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So yeah, before I decided to get my degree in classical music, I was almost going to get an ethnomusicology.
Really?
Yeah, and then I realized that I felt like that was a terrible idea
Why?
because I am sensitive to exactly what I'm saying, and I felt like all the people around me who were also getting degrees in ethnomusicology were a bunch of white people who didn't get it. Right? They were all faking the funk and being like thinking of it as a progressive thing, right? And this is me totally judging their intentions, which is wrong.
That's what I was gonna say.
I don't want to judge their intentions, but it's the vibe I got.
Okay.
Right? And it's also the vibe I got, and the reason I can say that I got the vibe from them was I got that vibe from myself. Right? I worked with the guru to learn the basics of tabla. Like I was already a proficient congero. I was learning Central African Balinese hand drumming. Like
Naturally, like most people do.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty rad story, which I'll aside in a moment. But I was doing all that stuff, and I was like, I think it'd be really cool. But then at some point, you start to think about like what you're doing, and you're like, I'm not from fucking Bali. I'm not from fucking Burundi. I'm not from, you know what I mean? And nor do I think it's fair for as a academic pursuit for me to consider myself like versed well enough in any of those things without going and like diving into that thing.
Right.
And I think that ethnomusicology as like unpopular opinion. I think that ethnomusicology as a blanket is too broad. You like if I wanted to get my degree in like the master drummers of Burundi, then I should go to Burundi and work on that. Right? But I shouldn't spend 6 months working with one of those dudes and be like, cool, got it, see you later. Despite the fact that those dudes have spent their lives doing it.
That's what I was gonna say.
And then go to Thailand and be like, cool, I'm gonna go work on some gamelan like gong shit and do that and then work on that, which I did. And then be like there for 3 months and be like, cool, got it, see you later, and then go somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a terrible disservice and disrespect and undignified approach to what people dedicate their lives to. You know, I have a real issue with people, and unfortunately I was guilty of it, with people not giving the dignity and respect to any musical pursuit that it deserves. I think that people need to like respect that people dedicate their lives to this shit.
Well, do you think that in the pursuit of trying at least, making an effort to understand a surface level, do you think that there's not an effort to give it the justice that it deserves? Because the idea of like going there and studying for a few months or whatever, I think can at least arm the person with enough experience to at the very least sympathize with what's happening on the ground in these places and understand the culture in a way that might allow them to be more open-minded back, on their, wherever they're from.
Yeah.
And furthermore, whatever creative endeavor, it might allow them to understand things or have a perspective that might not be as, understood here.
100%. I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
What I'm not on board with is doing that on what to me you coming out of it with a surface level understanding or maybe even a level 1 understanding, right? And then 4 years to 8 years after that, someone handing you a piece of paper just saying you're a bachelor or a master of this thing.
I got you.
And I think that
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, I mean that's what ethnomusicology is.
So basically, it's people that are going to these countries.
Sometimes they're not even going to those
They're not
countries.
even going, right? But what if you're studying under somebody who did spend, 10 years in a place like this, and now they're coming back and they're teaching at a school, and you're learning from them?
The unfortunate thing about that is no school has all of it.
Right.
They didn't, there's not one building that has the world in it, right?
Yeah.
And ethnomusicology is not like salsa music, because if you wanted to do salsa music, you go to salsa school. You know what I mean? Or to Latin jazz school that's heavy in that category.
Does it punch harder because you're a musician and care so deeply about it? Because I feel like you're just describing college in general.
I was just about to say, because like unless you're specializing in something, I feel like the thing that college or education at that level does, it offers you a surface level understanding of multiple avenues to then decide whether or not where you want to really spend your time.
I think the first 2 years of that is for sure.
Yeah.
Like the pedagogy of the American system is like that for certain. But what the hope is that you find a path and then decide to specialize.
Right.
Right. And
There's ethnomusicology not
often not.
Okay.
Often not because it's such a broad thing. Like it's not Latin musics. It's not African musics. It's not Asian musics. It's not like Native American musics. It's ethnomusicology. And like to get real like liberal about this shit, let's go. Is the pedagogy of Western music is a little bit racist, right? Because why would they call it ethnomusicology and not just world
Musicology?
music? Yeah. Right, like Prince called it that, and it was fucking rad, right? Exactly. That, but you know, like, are we behaving from an educational standpoint as if there is something different about the music of Vietnam?
You're
or
othering the culture,
and especially it gets like under my skin even more when I realize that so much of the rest of the world has adopted Western musical standards in order to compete, and somehow are still being othered, right? So like when I was in Vietnam at one point, and I was just like hanging in Vietnam at a hotel, and there was a piano with music on the stand, right? So I, being my dumbass, decided I was like, I don't know what this tune sounds like. I'm gonna sit down and play it. So I sat down and played the tune that was on the stand, right? It was a Vietnamese tune. I couldn't read the words because it looked like squiggles to me. You know what I mean? But then the concierge for the hotel comes up to me and is like, hey, you're not Vietnamese, clearly. Well, you don't appear to be Vietnamese. How do you know our songs? And I'm like, I'm just reading what's on the paper, man. You know? And it felt a little weird to be like it felt both like connecting, but also like disjointed, because it was like I was just reading what's on the paper, and this dude feels like I'm connecting with him somehow, you know. And it's like
because you are in a way.
I am. I certainly am.
Yeah.
I certainly am. But I'm not. But I didn't learn shit from it. You know what I mean? I just read chord. You know.
But does that matter if the connection was genuine with that person?
No, with the person not. But I think with the culture, yes. Because let's bring it back to North America for a second.
Yeah.
Let's get out of the ethnomusicology bubble, because I don't want to talk about it anymore. One of the things about being a multi-genre player is that I think that with music, Western music especially, you hear it all the time. We only got 12 notes, blah 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 blah. Right? It's true, but what we don't have, and what's not on the page, and nor in most books, is the fact that the only thing that denotes genre is like idioms or idiosyncrasies of style, right? Like if you take R&B, like 70s R&B guitar playing, right? And you take 70s country guitar playing, or even like early 80s country guitar playing, right? They're pretty much the same thing, right? It's Telecasters, maybe the Starcaster, the hollow Fender.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe 335s. It's all bridge pickup. There's definitely somebody playing with a phaser.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot of half step and whole step bends, and you just got to know when and where to use them. And the thing about it is when and where you use them either puts you in the category where you're playing George Jones tunes, or it puts you in the category where you're playing Lionel Richie tunes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're not that far off, but it's just the idiosyncrasies of how to use those 12 notes and in what way to deliver them, because the tones aren't different, the instruments aren't different, the notes aren't different. It's what are you doing with them? You know what I
Right.
mean? It's how are you doing it? You know? And so that to me gets really interesting about genre and where and when you can communicate different things and get people to feel different things. I feel like that's a really it seems obvious, and it's one of those things I think musically on an educational journey or a journey as a musician, where we start with somebody saying this to us, and then we go through this time period where it doesn't seem true, and then we come back to where it's the thing that we say.
What's an example of where it doesn't seem true?
When you're really really steeped in a genreification of your playing, number one, and then also when you're kind of developing and and maybe your understanding of diatonic harmony or even extended harmony aren't quite developed yet.
Yeah.
So when you get there, people don't really they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't get that we're all playing with the same parts.
Right.
You know? So like when you got cats that are like get like especially like you know like when you get really early into like jazz harmony and you're like, oh, chord extensions, man, it's 11s, 13s and shit. Like altered chords, all this stuff. If you aren't yet dialed in for that, it becomes as if you're speaking a different language from Beethoven.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? And it also seems like you're using different building blocks.
Right.
But you're not.
Right.
You know? Like you listen to Bach like 4-part chorales and then listen to I don't know, Herbie Hancock. They seem like very different things, right? And in the middle when you're just getting hip to like Herbie Hancock and you've just like shed the fact that you now know what Bach is. At that point, they don't seem connected. It doesn't seem like it's true, but it's totally true because eventually, hopefully, we get the Miles Davis thing, which we mentioned earlier, where you learn it all, then you forget that shit and you just play.
Right.
You know, and then hopefully that also turns into the point where it brings you to a point where you can you can gain enough maturity that genre is bullshit. Right, you can just be like, nah, man. I don't care if it's an R&B tune. I don't care if it's a hip hop loop thing. I don't care if it's a country song. I don't care if it's a singer songwriter thing. I don't care if it's a metal tune. I don't care if it's a salsa tune. I don't care if it's a jazz tune. We only got the 12 notes, and if I understand the components of music enough, just music, man, like and what makes music, like from a mechanical standpoint, then all I gotta learn is the vocabulary.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, it's learning another language, but
Yeah.
it's just vocabulary, right? Like,
Yeah, totally.
Like, did you take any languages in school?
Languages?
Yeah.
Like in high school, I took Spanish.
You took Spanish. So did you?
Latin.
Latin. Okay. So Latin's a little weirder, but we're gonna go with it. You spend your first year learning the mechanics of the language, right? How to conjugate verbs and like and tenses, and also learning complement, like as far as those languages are concerned, like the complementary of masculine and feminine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You spend the rest of your time learning vocabulary. It's just words, man. You know,
Right.
Because once you know how the words move, once you learn how the notes are, once you learn that, then it doesn't matter as long as you have the vocabulary to speak it, right?
Right.
So like, you know, and if you're badass, then you can drag different vocabularies into it and make new or interesting things, and then you get to be like George Benson doing like, okay, yeah, I'm playing like, you know, instrumental R&B, aka smooth jazz, but also I get to like bring in the cool blues stuff, and that's
Right.
like you listen to George Benson, it's like, oh, that's why that's cool, because
Right.
because he has this vocabulary, he has this vocabulary, and he brings them together, and it kind of creates a new expression of the language.
Yeah, totally. I think that's the importance of listening and really trying to internalize as much as you can.
Yeah.
As a musician, because I have a friend of mine back home who is gotten over the whatever. Long story short, over the years, he's gone down the rabbit hole with like sacred geometry and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to use the same principles in music. However, he's not a musician
Okay.
in any sense of the
Is
word.
he a Tool fan?
I don't think he's like a fan of music really in general.
Okay, cool.
And so this is
That's even crazier. All
I
right,
know,
let's go.
right? So this is the conversation that you could imagine when he
Yeah.
brought this up to me,
Yep.
where like how combative I was at a certain point with him, because what he was saying is I bought all this software, and like all these different controllers for MIDI, and and I want to try and teach my stepdaughter how to do
How to
this.
music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like showing her this, and I'm like, dude, expose her to music.
Yeah.
That's the only way this works.
Certainly.
I don't really care what you can conjure up in your brain with sacred geometry and all the mathematics. Music is not math. Okay. Now here's
Okay, go ahead.
let me unpack this
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
I'm with
Okay.
you. Go ahead.
Now, in the same way that we use theory, which is based off math,
Certainly.
okay, it's a tool that helps us explain the thing.
Yep.
It's not the thing itself.
Agreed.
Right? So when we try to reduce the thing itself to mathematical equations, then we lose the human element and everything that makes us connect to the music, really. Right?
Yep.
So at least in the way that I would understand it, I don't care if you're making electronic music or if it's like, classical music, whatever it is, there's a human element there, and it's being created by people that have an understanding of genres and music that are trying to create a certain thing. When we ignore all of that stuff and just try to, ones and twos to an end result, I think you lose what the whole thing is.
Sure. Sure.
Equations and math are a tool. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So I'm gonna start this by saying I agree with you,
Okay,
but I'm gonna also push back just a little bit.
please.
You're right there is a school of thought, and I think it is a viable and awesome school of thought, that music is not complete until you're performing music, right? Until you can or until you're listening to it, or somebody experiences the music, right? And I think that's what you're trying to say, and I'm on board with it, right? Until the experience of music has happened, like those sounds, and you're wiggling the air, and then it hits eardrums. Until we're there, it's not music.
Right.
Yes, amen. Hell yeah, brother. Right. However,
I'm not saying some hippie shit though.
no,
you know what I
I'm
mean?
not. I'm also not trying to minimize it. I'm just trying to be funny for the clicks.
Yeah.
But there is there are also schools of thought, especially non-Western schools of thought, that involve, or at least not non-American schools of thought, that involve creating music in more academic ways, or ways that we haven't embraced. Number one, serialism exists. Mm-hmm. Schoenberg, and 12-tone row and things of that nature. Are you familiar?
I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a classical music method by which, the most common one is 12-tone row, but that's not the only one, where you make compositions based on a string of notes,
Right,
right?
okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
you can't use the next note until you've used the note before it,
Right,
et cetera, et cetera. So 12-tone row is the obvious, is the most popular one because it's the most easy to digest. It's also hard as shit to listen to. It doesn't sound good usually to non-hip listeners.
Yeah.
Right. To a lot of people, it's just like, oh man, I don't get it, because it doesn't have tonal centers. It doesn't resolve. It doesn't, unless you make it do it, right? And even then, it's kind of difficult. So there's that, and that isn't great. It's not a great approach for casual listeners or people who want to experience music in a way that it makes them feel things that aren't just anxiety, right? Because a lot of modern classical music, or like what we consider contemporary music up to modern music, is I think a good chunk of it is very anxiety inducing, but I think that's kind of by design,
Sure,
because chaos is part of it.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Like if you get into your John Cages and your Steve Reiches, there's a lot of stuff in there where it's like, man, it's just there to make you unsure what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and then the uncertainty is the show, right?
Totally.
So there's that. In a more cool way, but almost identical, Indian classical music has an approach called raga, which is very similar, but not only does it have notes that you use in a particular order, but you also have an inflection that you use in a particular order. which is really rad because it's like, ooh, this note, this note, this note, this note, this note, this note with a tremolo, this note with a vibrato, this note with a wide vibrato, this note straight, this note with a portamento, and like that's how you come up with that like rubric, and you use that as your thing, which I think is way rad because
Totally.
Especially when you get into non-American musics. Now going back to ethnomusicology, sorry, but I think it's really like that is a cool approach that I suck at, but I really appreciate it because I think it's so goddamn cool. Is that most Indian classical music is every instrument is either a drone or entirely melodic in nature, and they, in order to compartmentalize it, they use the ragas to do that. So it is like you very much got to follow the paint by numbers,
Right.
But there's no denotion for rhythm necessarily. There's no denotion for when notes are used in like as double stops or triple stops. So those count in the raga. And it gets real interesting.
Yeah.
And so when you see those cats play, they're literally playing like I saw Ravi Shankar in the 90s, and he played for 3 hours, and I thought I was there for 45 minutes.
Really?
Because it's just like it just turns into this thing where you're just like,
It's a trance.
yeah, and the fact that you're hearing like this communication of these notes, it doesn't even register that you've listened to the same 13 notes with the same 13 inflections for 3 hours, or maybe it does if you're not cool, you know what I mean? But like if you're hip to it, it's just like this whole thing where it just like it turns into a space and a communication that maybe you weren't ready for,
Right.
or maybe, you know what I mean? And so like you get both. You get music is math because you have to follow the rubric or the raga in this case, right? Or in the case of Schoenberg, you have to follow the serialism.
Right.
I'm not dissing Schoenberg; he's rad. It's just not everybody's thing. But you do end up with these things where you do end up with a finished product that maybe in the case of Indian classical music ends up being fucking awesome, or in the case of German serialism, real military and kind of weird, But regardless, you're getting something out of it, and you're gonna feel something.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about, the good thing about, well, good, cool, whatever. The thing about music is that hopefully you, as a person who's experiencing music, you walk away feeling something. And if you listen to a Schoenberg piece and you walk away feeling anxious, mission accomplished.
Right.
And if you go see Anushka Shankar, Ravi Shankar's daughter, Nora Jones' sister, play, and you sat there for 3 hours and it felt like 20 minutes, and you're just like, man, that was dope. I don't understand it at all. Mission accomplished. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's the thing. And so I think that, just to push back, yes, you're absolutely right that the experience and the communication and the emotion and the vibe, for lack of a better way to put it, is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are mathematical ways in order to get there.
Totally. Yeah. I totally accept that. I think that just because something is quantifiable,
Yep.
it doesn't make it math though only, right? Because
Sure.
here's the thing is like when we think about any other realm of science, okay, when we try and reduce everything from one to like one perspective, we have way too many blind spots in what's actually happening, right?
Unless you're talking about superstring theory, in which case all things are, it's a unifying theory. But yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
okay.
Continue.
Yes, okay. But let's maybe not take it as deep, and we can look at something like geology, right?
Sure.
Geology is going to have a perspective about something, right? And it might say amongst geologists that this is what's happening,
Yep.
right? But then you might have an archaeologist that's like, well, we see what you're saying, but I don't think based off of the science that you're looking at, you're considering this, or this.
Certainly.
Right?
Yeah, different. Yes.
So again, geologists and archaeologists are quantifying something maybe the same thing or
Probably
coming.
not,
Well, okay, but like,
But I hear you.
Yeah, they're quantifying something. They're
Yep.
trying to quantify something, right? And from another perspective of looking at the same thing, they might not be seeing that thing.
Oh, they're going to see different things for sure.
Right.
They could be looking at the same thing and get different things out of it.
Exactly.
Like using exactly those examples. A geologist could look at a rock formation and be like, "Yo, like let's arches." They could go to Arches National Park and look at the arches and be like, "Yo, that is a fine example of a tectonic created like stone structure."
Right.
And be like, "Shit, yeah, did it." Nailed it, right? And an archaeologist, which is generally cultural, would look at that and go, "That is a Native American holy spot,
Right.
right?" And that is because of this, culturally speaking. They're both scientists,
Right.
absolutely. One's a social scientist, but yes, they are absolutely looking at the same thing and getting different results from their perspective.
Right.
Absolutely, 100%. So yes, you're right. Math is math. Music is music. Near and between should I meet. However, yes, they should.
Yeah, definitely. And I use. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Well, and it also sounded like you were coming from like a technological point. Like, you're like, it sounded like you've got a bunch of MIDI controllers and you're,
Yeah, with my friend. Yeah.
yeah.
But I've also used like I'm not like for me, if I'm stuck in the writing process,
Mm-hmm.
right? I will lean on theory.
Oh, yeah, for
you
sure.
know, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm not hearing anything right now.
Sure.
I don't know where this is going to go. But where can this go? What are my
100%.
options
Absolutely.
here, right?
Yeah.
And then I start to look at it from that perspective. I'm like, okay, and oftentimes I'll find something there.
Yeah, that's
right?
how I write commercial jingles.
So how do you get? You told me about this a long time ago, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious about this side of
That's
things.
precisely how I do the job. What? Ask me anything. Let me.
We haven't even started the podcast yet, by
Okay,
the way. With
cool.
this, so
Yeah.
we're just starting
Oh,
right
was
now.
I supposed to clap?
Just digging right into what I'm saying about how one of the things about music and composition is that the heavy lifting of composition, to me and not to everyone, because we all look at it differently, is decision making is paramount. Decision making is probably the hardest part of making compositions. So I don't look at writing for clients as being something where I want to be inspired. It's entirely brain lifting. It's heavy lifting with your brain. That's all it is. Half the time I don't even play the shit. Sometimes I just program it. It's gone. They get what they asked for. Everybody wins. The easiest way for me to do that is like I have like, it's just kind of mathy. Is to go. I have decisions I have to make, and what that person wants is going to determine which way I get to choose my own adventure here. Right.
Right.
So let's see. I'm making my client is a podcast called Bottom of the Bill.
Okay.
And that podcast is like, oh, we need bumper music for between the like early conversation and the actual interview start. And I'm gonna come on this and I'm gonna go, this is Bottom of the Bill, and then I need music. What's gonna happen, right? And I just have a quick conversation with whoever that person is, and I say, what do you want it to feel like, and what do you want to accomplish with it, right? Do you want it to be long? Do you want to have like room for it to bleed over? Do you want it just to be 30 seconds hard? What do you want? And then let's say that like, let's just build one in our brains right now. So if that person says to me, okay, I want it to be upbeat and I want it to feel super triumphant, like soldiers returning from war.
Yeah, like Fox News
having won.
Like,
yeah. And I want you to like tap your foot to it. And I want it to be 30 seconds. Okay, cool. No problem. We can do that. Right? So first thing I'm going to do is okay, no. So they want it to be like triumphant and fast, or like tap-toe tapping. So 120 beats a minute. That's where we're going to start.
Yeah.
Might even go faster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, this is literally some shit I do. I'm going to put all 12 keys in a bucket, and I'm going to reach out and pick one. There it is. Today we're playing an F.
Yeah.
Right? And then you do that, and then they want it to be super, super triumphant, and like they said soldiers, so I'm gonna have a horn section. I'm gonna probably have some like marching or war drums kind of things going on, and that's instrumentation. Decision made, right? All these are decisions that you have to make, right? And then like they want triumphant, so then this is the part where it gets a little heady, but like maybe I would go Mixolydian mode and make it modal so it all feels, kind of kind of thing, you know what I mean? And that cool, we're Mixo, we got it, like all that sort of stuff, because if you get real nerdy about it, the modes have feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then you can just like if you've done it long enough or done it enough times that you start to know what those modes feel like to you or what they feel like to the uninitiated, then you can just deliver. And then I'll probably just fire up Ableton, set 120 beats, make 30 seconds, no wind up out, you know what I mean? Just it comes in and it goes.
Yeah.
Like maybe use the Waves plugin for the brass and and that's that and done.
Yeah.
And then maybe if I might make it to make it feel hipper to me, I'd probably put it in a triple meter instead of a duple meter, just so it swings to me.
Okay.
And that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
Immediately, right? And those are all just things that's that. And if the person was like, it feels a little jive, then I would just take the whole thing, take the drums off, keep the melody, make it a duple meter. Ta-da.
And send it back.
And be like, how do you feel about this? And they'd be like, it's great.
Yeah.
30 seconds on the dot, perfect.
How much work or that are you doing? Like you get calls for jingles a lot?
Jingles less so lately. Like I was doing a lot of that during pandemic stuff.
Okay.
Because before the pandemic, I was like Jackie Stranger was going to hit it hard. I was going to do a bunch of releases. I've actually, as Jackie Stranger, I've only released one thing ever, and it was a split.
Really?
Yeah, I've never like released stuff directly, but I've licensed a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of syncs, but I haven't like. You can't download that shit anywhere. You know what I mean? You can't listen to it on Spotify.
Right.
Right. Which is fine. I don't like it. That's a spiritual conundrum for me, and you know what I mean. Plugging it now, December 15th, putting out a single.
Oh yes.
So I am putting out an EP first quarter next year, and then putting out an LP second quarter next year. But that's a whole other thing. We can talk about that in a minute. But so the plan was for me to wind up and like really hit that shit hard in 2020, and I had a spot at South by, and I was gonna like March was gonna be like my jumping off point. I was going to hit the road. I was going to do a shitload of festivals. I was going to go to Europe at the end of the year. I was going to like go. I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And then like COVID happened and like, and so like I lost all the gigs. I lost all the momentum and no one wanted to write or talk about it. And I was like, fuck, okay, cool. Maybe I've been doing the right thing by sitting on all these recordings for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I just didn't do it. But that also meant that I had no income, no revenue stream. And so I really, really hit that shit hard for like a year and a half, where I was just like, all right, cool. And I like reached out to a lot of my friends who are in like the advertising agencies and things of that nature. And I was just like, give me anything, like give me anything, or just tell me what you need and I will make it. And if the clients bite, cool. And if they don't bite, we tried, but I need all the work. And
yeah.
I just did it hard. So that was my night every night. Instead of going to the gigs, I would go home because during the day I'm a fabricator machinist.
Yep.
And at night I would just do that and like I would use the like try to stay disciplined as such that like if there was a possibility that I would have been on a gig, I am not watching wrestling that night. I love wrestling, but that's not what I'm doing tonight. You know what I mean? If I was gonna be in fucking Poughkeepsie playing fucking Tootie's Hideaway tonight, I'm making something.
I see. So to substitute your canceled tour.
Yep.
Any nights you were working, you were still working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I write a song every day too.
Oh,
that's
that's
a whole
awesome.
other thing. But that's but not as a I write every song's a keeper, because that's bullshit.
No, it's just an exercise
Yeah,
to stay working.
Yeah, it's success is a habit, and if you don't write, then you aren't a writer. So that's what
Tell
I do,
me about it, dude.
So just keep doing it and do it every day. But at that time, it was like it was actual output, and not just like keeping the wheels greased. It was actual output. Be like, all right, what's hip right now? And so like I would go and I would listen to the top 10, like the Billboard top 10, and I would just make a shitload of beats or recordings or whatever that did each of those vibes, and I would do that. That's the thing that John Mayer does. I don't know if you guys know that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the thing he does. And I would do that, where I would just be like, okay, cool. Like, what about this is compelling? How can I use it? Okay, cool. So I ended up with a lot of like, cicada sounding drum beats that I really hate, but whatever, they ended up on a lot of like Truvia commercials or whatever, like,
That's cool though. Man.
yeah,
I mean,
that's the way it is,
yeah.
That's kind of how that stuff works.
Are you hitting any of those like third party licensing websites like Taxi or
No,
like
I have in the past, but right now I have enough of a direct line to advertise a few advertising
That's
agencies
everything, yeah.
that I don't have to worry about that quite as much. Sometimes when I still need to like do it, like I will do. I have a lot of music on some of those, and then also there's like it kind of sucks, but it has bared fruit. There's a thing called Music X-Ray, and I've gotten some opportunities from them.
Okay.
Where it's just like, okay, cool, it might cost you a little bit of money, but it'll get you in the pool,
Right,
and
yeah.
you do that, and then like sometimes that stuff really sucks, but sometimes it's really awesome, especially if you have as a person who's a recording engineer, as a person who's a writer, as a person who like wears a few hats as far as music is concerned, and maybe is 45 and isn't great on TikTok. It's a good way to just like be like, okay, I need to make as much like a broad enough bed of material.
Yeah, backlog.
Yeah. And just have it, and not just a backlog of like, okay, they're all the same thing, but like being like, hey man, somebody like trap beats are really in right now. Like I have some trap beats. You want them? You know what I mean? Like if somebody's like, oh, like singer songwriter shit's really in right now. Oh, I've got that for days. What do you want? And so I could just send them like a few gigs of tracks and be like, pick one, or if you want something specific, I'll make it for you. I'll do it. It's very useful to have that stuff just kind of in your back pocket, and then to keep the brain going with that sort of stuff, so that you can make those decisions, you can do it quickly, and you can turn it around fast. And that's that. And like you can do commercials, you can do film, like especially if you have like if your music is at least if you write it as such that you have feelings about it. It sounds silly, but like if you're trying to invoke something,
Yeah.
Like if that's the way you're doing it, and not just like blanket, like it feels triumphant, but like specifically like this girl broke up with me and I felt this way, and you wrote that tune, or or whatever, this guy really hurt my feelings. This is the thing, if you have that, and just so happens that A24 is making a film that, because they're the only people making films right now. If they have one, and that's and that's the scenario, you're like, cool, I got the exact thing for you, no problem.
Right. Yeah. Because there's I signed up for Taxi like years ago.
Yeah.
And I just didn't keep up with the subscription because I'm not an engineer, so
Sure.
I don't have backlog material like that. But I still get emails from them about like opportunities, and it's exactly that. It's like, hey, we need a song for this movie, preferably like a slow acoustic breakup song.
Yep.
And it's exactly how it's labeled, and you're like, well, I've got some of those.
Yep.
But I don't have them recorded because I'm a bitch. But
And that's how you do it. You just gotta have that shit in your back pocket, and
Yeah.
just have it ready, and keep doing it. And even if it's stuff that you just do for exercises, just keep your exercises.
Yeah, totally. I need to get better about
Yeah.
writing every day, because it's
Yeah.
like, I don't write enough.
And not being scared of Ableton
I have Logic.
or Logic. Don't be scared of Logic.
Yeah, I really, and it's a mental block. I really, really, really don't like it.
Don't use it.
No,
So-
it's not. It's the process of. It's not even the DAW that I'm using.
Okay, gotcha.
It's I don't like the constant shift, and this is something that I have to just work to get better at. Is all it is. The shift of going from player to engineer constantly is exhausting to me, and I hate. I can't explain to you how much I hate it.
Oh, I feel you.
It's kind of wild though, because it's all like a mechanical. Like there's certain mechanics you do playing guitar. Like okay, I've got to turn my amp on. I've got to dial my pedals. I've got to get my tone right.
Yep.
It's not very different than going. I have to turn on my interface. I have to hit phantom power. I have to plug in my mic cable.
That's not the shit that bothers me. It's all the technical stuff once you're in there recording, and then we got to start doing EQing shit. And
But who says you have to do all that? Like demos don't have to be that way. You can
that's
outsource
true.
your mixing. It's using it as a creative tool. Like that's the block. Like you don't have to be, the craziest. Oh, I can pick out it's 2.2 hertz and I can get that, or I slap a compressor on, slap an EQ on, move a couple things. If it works, cool. If not, placehold it. Someone else will do it for you.
Also,
100%.
creating drum loops is the biggest fucking nightmare.
That shit kind of sucks. But there's also until you can buy them, you can get mini packs, and then like okay, it's close. Then you can go in and go, let me take this hi-hat out, and then you're just starting, and then you go. Eventually, you're like, okay, I can build them pretty quickly because I did that in Ableton, and it was like it would take an hour to build the loop in my head. Then 6 months later, it would take 30 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I got my creative thing out, and it's there.
Yeah.
And finding the DAW that works for you really does matter.
100%,
It's not just like I went through Reason, Logic, Pro Tools, and then landed on Ableton, and Ableton's the shit. I love it. I use it for everything because I think it's so built to be creative versus like
That's why it's called Ableton Live.
Exactly.
Literally,
It's meant to it's meant to be used like as an actual instrument and a tool, like with how it's laid out.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. That's not for everybody.
That's true.
Yeah, and I'll tell you two things to get over both of the problems that both of you described. You described having to like plug it in, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a solution for that, and then the solution for I got to EQ. So I have two solutions. One of which is not always useful, but whatever. The one for your problem is I have two computers and they're on the same desk. Not two screens, two computers, right? And I have one that is always on, always has a session open.
Yeah.
Always. No matter what happens, I don't have to plug shit in. My interface is there. There's a guitar plugged into it. It's on a stand. If I got to work, I'm ready to work.
Yeah, the workflow,
right?
you got it.
There's that.
Yeah.
So that immediately fixes that problem. So like I don't go because we're all lazy. Every one of us. You're lazy.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm also lazy. I also don't even want to like dig to the back of the fridge to eat an apple. So if it's not at the front, I'm not going to eat it. The apple's going to die back there. So, but if my guitar's not already plugged in, I'm not going to play it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing. It's like that's immediate. It's there, and so I don't have to think about it. And then the second thing, and this helps you, I think helps you, is you only got to do it once, but or you have to do it once per concept. But build templates.
Templates, yeah.
Just build templates, and then if you're like, cool, I just got to do an acoustic thing, man. Cool, hopefully you have just like over here or just like here, you just have a microphone ready and it's there.
Yeah.
Right. You have it attached to your desk, which I do have. I have a broadcast arm with a 7B on it, which like I use a 7B way more than I should because there's a lot of things that it's not great for, but I still use it. It's not the best for anything other than Michael Jackson's vocals, but somehow I still use it for acoustic guitars. I use it for hand claps. I use it for like, I need to get this foot stomp thing. I need to get a guitar. Whatever it is, like it's there. I use it for that, and then there's an electric guitar plugged into like direct in, and that's like I can work fast. And so like there's that, and then I can just bring up the templates. And then if I don't need those things, then I also have APK Mini, and just for like if I need to program drums or I need to have somebody ask like lately it's been people just asking me for organ parts. There's like, hey man, can you just play organ? I'm like, yeah, I guess. I'm not a great organ player. I don't have an organ, but yeah, I got plugins. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so it's been like the APK Mini has been like for that. I mean, I also have like nice MIDI controllers, but when I want to work fast and I don't want to think about it, I don't want to go get it and plug it in, put it on a stand and all that stuff. Like I just
You have it all built already.
yeah, it's there, and I just go and just drag in. That's that, and it's super super useful to just like not only finding the thing that works for you. DAWs become problematic for some people because they're just like there are different kinds of people, and we like all people who want to learn something. Every person is a lock, right? And every lock has a key, and no two locks and no two keys are the same, right? So it would be silly for me and Chris to tell you that that Ableton is your answer,
Right.
right? Maybe it is. Give it a try. But if you don't like it, cool. Then you have Logic. You said that it didn't bother you, that it was your DAW. Use it. So whatever it is. But I would also say, like, if you feel like that's an impediment, or you feel like your workflow isn't fast enough, that's a great place to start to maybe tailor your experience.
Automate.
Yeah.
Now, if
everything.
only you had a place where all the gear was set up all the time. That's
know.
With an
well,
acoustic guitar hanging on the wall.
we'll have to work on that, I guess.
I know,
Exactly.
guys. I am not a perfect person.
Who among us is? Just Jesus, man. Just Jesus.
Tell me about the music you're working on that you're putting out.
Cool. Perfect. So right now I'm in the middle of recording a ton of projects because I'm in a ton of projects.
Right.
So right now I'm recording some acoustic demos as well as an electric album for Bryce Allister Band. I'm doing right now. I'm remixing 10 years worth of Jackie Stranger's music.
Nice.
Which Jackie Stranger, the recordings are just me. They're like, I have guys that I hire for the bands, like when I want to play live, but the recordings are just me. I play the bass, I play the organ, I play the piano, I play the guitar, I play the pedal steel, I play the lap steel, I play the banjo, whatever the hell it is, and I
That's
just do it all.
awesome,
And some of it suffers because it's me, but at the same time, like I have unlimited time because I have my own space and I have my own recording facilities. So I have that. We'll come back to that in a second. Dig Dog is writing for a new record. We put out a record last year that was our kind of our pandemic record. The album is called Homeless Theater, and that album's out now on all streaming sites. So please stream it because I could use 1/40th of 1 cent from you. Mudtown's writing a record right now, so that's my hillbilly punk band. Jackie Strange Americana music. Bryce Allister Band's kind of jammy blues rock, for those who don't know. Jackie Stranger Americana. Dig Dog is kind of like proggy, punky. Like if Zappa wrote 3-minute songs,
Okay. Hell yeah.
it's that kind of stuff. So it's like the tunes are pretty demanding as far as like facility is concerned, and they're all about weird shit, just like Zappa tunes, but they're fun. I call it party prog.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you could have a good time to it. Because not everybody could have a good time to prog music generally. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like not everybody can bump a Yes record or a Rush record and have a good time.
Yeah.
But I think anybody could bump a Dig Dog record.
Okay.
So we're writing for that record, and we're probably going to record soon. Mudtown's writing their record. I'm not sure when that recording's gonna happen. Bryce is recording both. Me and him are doing acoustic demos, and then also working on that record, which I'm not engineering that.
Okay.
The electric stuff. We were working with Brent Bird on that.
Okay.
I think John Deering mentioned that here on the bottom of the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been like slowly chipping away at that. There's decisions that need to be made. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like he talked about it. Check out that episode. The John Deering episode was just fine.
Yes, please.
Yeah, watch them all.
Watch them all. Please.
And then
God.
yes, please do that. Please, we need your 1/40th of 1 cent.
Yeah.
Currently, I play in a band called Carmen, which is kind of like a pop rocky, like John Mayer kind of thing.
Okay.
We put out an EP last year. We're working on a new one right now. I just laid down new drums. I don't even know what the shit's called yet. You know what I mean? I don't know what the record's gonna be called. I don't know what half the songs are called, but we're working on that. That's gonna be great. Carmen US. It's the ungoogleable band name because there's so many Carmens like San Diego in this world.
Yeah.
I had no part in that.
Trademarking is gonna be a nightmare,
Yeah,
dude.
I don't think we're gonna do it.
Oh, okay.
Hell with it, man. We don't need the money.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other stuff I have in
Universal Green?
Universal Green. We're just playing. That's more of a party band to me.
Yeah.
And as far as recordings are concerned, that band is kind of in the woods. Like
Yeah.
there isn't a whole lot of creativity. New creativity in that band right now. It's kind of just like bump the shows, rock the parties, have a good time. We're doing plenty of that. It's great. I love it. And then Bo and the Burners, which is like a 1950s rockabilly kind of thing. I'm recording that record right now too.
Awesome.
And I'm engineering that and recording it and producing that record.
That's great.
And playing
man.
drums on it.
That must be super fun to be able to like have your fingers and all these
Yeah,
things. I
absolutely.
think you need more, honestly.
I do. Yeah, spreading yourself thin is dumb.
I think you need a hip hop project or something.
That's the Universal Green.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. Right, foot in my mouth, dude.
You paying attention or what, dude?
Yeah. And then on top of that, just doing like lots of sync work for commercials and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's called Dead Battery. You can't listen to that stuff anywhere unless you turn your TV on. But that's everywhere. So yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
When's the Jackie Stranger
Jackie
stuff
Stranger.
to release?
Okay, cool. So sad story time. Okay, you guys ready? Ready for me to bring the party down? So about 10 years ago, no, precisely 10 years ago, my mom passed away. And then directly after that, her brother also passed away. And he passed away in the same house that my grandmother passed away in on my birthday.
Oof.
So I became the steward of all that stuff. My sister was a great help. I'm not trying to minimize her. My sister's great. Love her. She's wonderful. But I spent a lot of time. The house was in Holly Hill, just near Daytona. And I kind of spiraled out of control and shit got real bad for me. And it continued to get worse over the next couple years after that. And so my therapist was like, worked on different ways of trying to work out my issues. And clearly I have severe grief issues and severe PTSD issues and related to other things as well. And I don't need to bring the party all the way down, so we're just not going to go there. But one of the things that me and my therapist thought would be a cathartic experience would be, or it was my idea, and then she's like, give it a go. Couldn't hurt, I guess. Was I took all then I was 35, and I took all the musical instruments that anybody who had passed away I'd gotten from somebody who passed away, right? So guitars that my old man got me, my mom, my uncle, like other friends who had passed away, and I moved them all into my uncle and grandmother's house. And then I wrote an album about the stages of grief. And then I recorded it in that house. So I stayed there for a few months and just like hit it hard, didn't leave the house other than to go to the grocery store and just like did that.
That's awesome.
And that house is on Flamingo Avenue in Holly Hill. And so the album is called Flamingo Avenue. It'll come out for Q1 next year. I'm going to release the first single off that, I believe December 15th. That's a Friday. If not the closest one to December 15th.
Okay.
So that one, and it's a 5-song EP because there's 5 stages of grief. And the first one is Acceptance, and that's the first single. Or the last one is Acceptance, and that's the first single.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So it's heady, like high in concept, and due to constraints, that I put on it, you know what I mean? So only these instruments, only this location. Like it's not an apology, it's just a fact. Like it's not perfect. But I don't think I didn't want it to be perfect. I wanted it to be within parameter, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, do I want to play a Telecaster on everything because I'm a Telecaster dude? Yeah. Did anybody who had passed away ever give me a Telecaster? No. So I'm playing like a National Les Paul on a lot of the stuff. I'm playing like a 335 style guitar that my mom got me when I was younger on a lot of the stuff. I play a like this really weird 12 string that my old man got me when we were in the Philippines. I'm Filipino. And so like that would be like, well, with there, and I got a 12 string and it has my name and abalone on the top of it. And I was like, cool, look at this
awesome.
cool thing. It's not the best built guitar. It's not the best intonated guitar, but it fits the parameters. So the 12 string part's a little dicey sometimes, you know what I mean? But it fits. It's a vibe. It does a thing, you know what I mean? And if you listen to it knowing what you're listening to, I think you'll get a lot out of it. If you listen to it not knowing what you're listening to, it might sound like an imperfect record, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like I think that's definitely a part of hopefully the charm of the record, is that people can get, like see a moment and see a concept and be like, oh shit,
It's raw and vulnerable.
it's boy is it ever, But yeah, so yeah, Acceptance, first single, December 15th. I'm glad I got through it. I'm glad I didn't die, You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
You know, and I don't mean that to be glib nor funny. It's true. You know. So yeah, that's coming out, and then like I have a bunch of other material just from other things that I've done. Like I write when I give myself the daily writing thing. I try to write in sets because I'm a like at one point I got really into Schubert and the idea of like song cycles. So like I write like I'll spend like a month or 2 months just like every day I'm gonna write about this thing. So like I have probably 5 or 6 records that are just about individual things.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? Like I have one that will I don't know which one's going to come out first, but we'll just say this is the one. Like I wrote this record like probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it was all about like I just walked around, well didn't walk around. It wasn't a creep thing. It was just, I know a lot of girls with tattoos and I didn't want to be weird about it, but I was like tell me the stories of your tattoos. And so like when they don't give me stories, then I would just go write a song about it.
Okay.
And so that one's called Tattooed Women. So there's that one.
So is this under the same moniker?
Yeah, Jackie
Okay.
Stranger. I did like when trying to find religious shit up here and out in the world, I kind of got into Buddhism as a concept.
Okay.
So like that there's like 3 big tenets in Buddhism, like love, impermanence, and pain, you know, and suffering, right? So I wrote an album where everything is either about breakups or dead shit, and I called that love and impermanence, and I have like 50 songs for that.
Jesus.
You know, like yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
I think there's
man.
probably 10 good ones, but yeah. But that's the thing, right?
That's the
Like you
whole thing.
have to over deliver.
Yeah.
You know, because like if you just go, oh yeah, I'm going to write 10 songs. What happens if one of them doesn't really translate to the recorded medium? Or
Yeah, for sure.
What happens if one of them just sucks?
Yeah.
You know, then you got a 9-song record. That's not good.
Yeah, no, totally, man.
You
I
know?
mean, you just want variety in general. You want to be able to sit there and really put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
You know, so if you're limited and you're like, well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You have to hit 10 songs, then
Yeah.
and you got 10 songs, and that's what you got.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's not always representative when you do it that way. So yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the way to do it, man. That's
And if you
awesome.
if you have 40 bad ones, and I don't mean that funnily, if you have 40 bad songs, you could tool a good one out of, or an acceptable one out of one of those songs.
Yeah, because they don't all need to be fantastic
Yeah.
songs on the record. You,
Yeah.
you want, like, you know, I don't know, it like any other principle in investing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's you want one. Let's say out of 10.
Yep.
Yeah, you got 5 that are whatever.
Yep.
You got 4 that are like, hey, this is good.
Yep.
I'm breaking even on this one.
Yep.
And we got one that just
Yeah.
hits it out of the ballpark.
Yeah,
right?
5 5s, 2 7s, and 1 10.
Yeah, exactly.
4 10s, 4 7s, and 1 10. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly that.
So
yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so that's the method, man. Just write. You know, and if you don't have things to write about, then write about the same thing. And
Yeah.
if you don't have a thing to write about, that's the same thing. Then write about not being able to write.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And
Do you have a timeline for that stuff, or you're focusing on this acceptance of the Flamingo Road
Yeah,
one?
yeah. The from Flamingo Avenue Records,
Avenue.
it's going to be out, I believe, February probably.
Okay.
And like mid-February, to fall into the, like, to get real like meta about it, to fall into the anniversary of its writing,
Okay.
which is February.
That's
So we'll get there, and then I'll put it out into the world probably then, and then the other ones, like, I'll just push them around summer or something like that.
yeah.
I'm not sure yet.
Awesome,
Yeah.
man.
So, yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear it all.
Thank
honestly.
you.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. You can just have it before everybody else does.
That'd be dope. We'll
Yeah.
review it on the podcast.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
You guys want to hit some unpopular opinions?
Yeah, I think we got a Cameron issue though.
Yeah, that's a brand. Chris just brought his own personal one in because we had one that died a couple weeks ago, and
Was that the one that was overheating?
no, we always these 3 cameras here. I love the A6100s from Sony, but they can have an overheating problem. And since Miles came in,
Yeah.
and Miles, when we interviewed him, I told him what was going on. He just put the setting on, and they
Settings,
haven't
yeah.
died since.
Oh,
So
awesome.
it's like, Chris, you want to do one for us?
Being a pop musician's harder than being a jazz musician, I think. And this is unpopular, especially if you're, maybe a music layperson or just a fan. But yeah, they think it's so virtuosic, it's so incredibly difficult. I think being that great of a player and then working in confines is a harder thing to do, maybe night to night.
I just think the gigs are also typically more demanding.
I think so. They can be, and maybe even not like a Taylor Swift level pop player, but even anything in between. Playing to tracks.
Yeah.
Like there's focusing. Like jazz is a very conversational music.
Yeah.
So like you go up there and you talk, and there's you're listening, you're reacting. It can be whatever it is that night. It can be just whatever you make it. Pop is a product.
Yeah, it's regimented. Yeah, you have to deliver.
It's hard work. The music may be simple, but like the demand is just so much higher. And I don't know if that, I know musicians pretty much get that. Some of them do, some of them don't. The lay people, they're just like, no, pops, I can understand that.
Oh,
jazz,
100%.
I don't get it. And
100%. Yeah, there's definitely a segment of the audience that doesn't even understand that those people are also artisans. You know what I mean? Like the people backing up pop musicians at every level, from demo recorders all the way up to people who are behind Beyonce. Like every layer, there is true artisanship.
Oh yeah,
in those players, because those cats like they do like 3 and 2s. I don't know if you guys know 3 and 2s. You know 3 and 2. So like that's a Nashville thing where they literally book a studio for 2 hours and you have to leave with 3 songs.
Oh wow,
nice.
Right, and it's like, try that with some motherfuckers who can't play.
Yeah, no, totally, dude,
Totally.
I mean,
You can't do it. You can't do it.
And that's just the thing. Like, even though the music is simple, you have to be virtuosic because it's literally time is money.
Absolutely.
And especially in a live setting where you're talking, like, if you are talking about a higher stakes pop gig, you're talking about easily $1 million production every single night.
Minimum,
So it's like, you can't fuck that up.
You can't.
Right? So I don't care if you're playing 4 on the floor the whole night. You gotta fucking you gotta have the click in your ear. You're playing the tracks, and you gotta make sure you don't miss a fucking beat.
Yeah, if it's like, it doesn't matter if it's D minor for this whole verse.
Yeah.
You better lay that shit down.
Totally.
Lock it down.
Drive that band.
It's nothing you want. You know what I mean? It's like and I'm sure you want to fulfill the gig if you took the gig, kind of thing, whatever. But like, you're not the one that's making any of those calls on that gig.
Nope, Lady Gaga's doing that shit.
And that's tricky.
Yeah.
Like that's, as a side musician, just kind of like compartmentalizing and going, okay, I'm doing a different thing tonight.
Yeah, 100%.
I would fucking love that, dude. I just want the experience.
I would enjoy it for sure.
Yeah.
I just want the experience just to like know, because there is like an element of it where, like, as a musician, that you want to be able to understand the perspective of being like on stage in an arena with that kind of pressure to execute.
Yep.
I want to feel that so badly. You know what I mean? Whether and I don't even have a desire to be like the main artist.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, I've given up on that like kind of rock, like that pop star dream. But like, I would just as a side guy, I want to be there and like in it, and like I want to feel that shit.
Yeah, every night your job's on the line.
Yeah.
Like I've played a couple of those gigs, and it's demanding, and I think you're right. I think, unpopular or not, I think it holds weight. And I also think that, to take it just like outside of maybe the obvious realm, the jazzers don't spend as much time on the road.
Sure.
And so it's like those cats don't have to play with like the physical demands.
Yeah, man.
That a lot
about
of
that recently.
those cats do.
Yeah.
I remember that was also one of your unpopular opinions.
I went in on those guys too.
But I back that. And I think like if we're looking at the job as a whole, I think that there are more demands on somebody who plays in the pop realm and does it at the same level, right? Like, we have to apples this. Like, somebody who's doing this to eat, not somebody who's like working on their pop deal, but somebody who's doing it, and somebody who's doing it right. Like somebody who's playing the Blue Note tonight or the Iridium tonight, and somebody who's playing the Staples Center tonight. Those people are on the same level. Even though they're
playing wise,
also commitment wise.
Yeah.
Like those people are both committed in the same way, and I think that the guy who's playing the Blue Note or the Iridium is probably, or gal, there's some killer women out there. And those people probably get to sleep in their own bed in their one-room apartment in New York City tonight.
Yeah.
Right? The cat playing at the Staples Center has a van call or a bus call. Like, they can't miss that shit. You know what I mean? And like, they've also got to make sure that like the audience is happy. They got to make sure that the crew is happy. They got they're probably eating shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless they're playing with Taylor Swift tonight. You know what I mean? Like I've played tours where it's like, man, the tour is good, and but like catering's not always all it's cracked up to
Yeah,
be.
totally.
Like it's hard to eat well. It's hard to stay healthy out there. You know, so you're right. You're right.
Yeah, totally. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like the Cash Band got like I did a little taste of that stuff, and it
Yeah.
was like playing to tracks, playing written solos, parts, transitions, all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff, and it was so much more just like almost more awareness in the moment of when I would just improvise and like because like there's a certain level of like listening where you almost like turn off your brain, you get into a flow state, you're kind of connecting with what's around you versus like playing those pop gigs. It's very analytical. Like
Sure.
It's not a flow state as much.
Right.
I don't know if people who haven't maybe checked out the other side of the coin, they
Yeah.
don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's playing those kinds of gigs is way closer to my machinist job than it is to
Yeah.
like being creative.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And you just have to be like on.
Yeah.
And, like like don't flub, man, don't
Yeah.
flub. Like if you don't show up, somebody else will.
They'll send you home.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
like even like on a interpersonal level, I was talking to one of my friends who's a drummer out in LA, and he was saying that on one of the more recent tours he did, I can't remember who he was playing with, but it was a pretty big tour, and I was just asking about like the dynamic between the side guys, the artist, and then the representatives, and he was like, yeah, we don't really talk to the representation. I was like, why? It's just like uncouth, you don't
Yeah.
like talk
You don't, yeah.
to them. It's just, like that's not your job.
Yeah.
Your job's to show up and do the gig.
Yep.
And just being aware of just the etiquette,
Mm-hmm.
that could literally make or break your paycheck.
Yeah, and different teams will have different etiquettes.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
to themselves as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully you have a TM that's dialed enough to tell you what like if there's weird etiquette
Yeah.
that you do or do not do.
Totally,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So if you're in there with like a marquee, like a true marquee act, there's a strong possibility that even if you're like playing you're playing music, you're not part of the band because like you're not on this like. Try not to name drop here, so I'm not gonna do it. But like I played one and I was not on the stage. There were the dudes on the stage, and you knew who the dudes on the stage were, right? And everybody knows who those people are, right? But they don't know that there's also like somebody off to the side,
Oh, yeah.
playing utility stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I
Green
mean?
Day does that.
Yeah. So I'm in the pit with the monitor guy, and I've got I got cameras so that I can see the stage, which I didn't need because I could play the goddamn tunes. You know what I mean? And then I've got my setup, and I've it's like these are your instruments for the night.
That's wild.
But like the reason that's important, or what to tie that into what you were just talking about, was that I actually didn't. I only once in 6 months hung out with the act.
That's so weird, man.
Yeah. Like I had my own bus and everything. It was just like, nah, dog, that's you. You do that. You're with the monitor guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I play the songs. I'm there. I'm one of you guys. Like, you're not one of us.
I know. How could you man, that's gotta be so wild to know that you're literally making music with
Yeah.
somebody and you're not even allowed to vibe with them on stage
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
I get it. Like if you're the artist and like you want to have your space away from the band, totally fine.
Yeah.
But when we're on we're playing music.
We're making music,
together.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so weird. And then like they're all reacting to each other
Yeah.
to like a part that you're playing.
Yeah.
It's so fucking weird, dude.
Yeah, it's but you just play it straight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Deliver what you got asked to deliver, and it's all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Or you'll get fired, one or the other.
Yeah.
And I only got that gig because somebody else got fired.
Yeah.
shit happens, man. That's the way it goes.
That was a good
That's a great one.
opinion.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What you got, Jack?
Do you want something cultural or do you want something musical?
Whatever you want.
What's the spiciest?
Oh, let's see.
Whatever gets us fucking clicks, dude.
Oh, what's good? Okay, here's one that because it's fun. I don't know. Memes are the lowest form and also shittiest form of communication.
Oh man. I mean, totally, but they're also fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I think it's awful. So let me elaborate. Let me elaborate. So memes as we understand them today are pictures with funny words, right? That's not what the word means, but whatever. Fine.
Yeah.
Don't at me. Words mean things, and that's not what that word means.
Yeah.
I learned that from Scott T. Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
I did.
So-
I did.
So yeah, the word meme it predates the internet. Look it up. I'm not doing your research for you.
No, for sure.
The people who use memes tell me to do my own research. Do your own. Anyways, memes, as we understand them today, are as such that like they're such a low form of communication that the problem with them is that they are the reason why the lowest form of communicators are so fucked. Right? When we think of things, I don't want to get too political, but like there's a certain group of people in this world who have a certain set of beliefs that aren't even a set of beliefs, they're a set of fucking memes.
Yeah.
These people don't believe anything other than like the Joe Biden sticker they saw at the gas station, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, he did that.
He did that. Yeah, precisely, And it's like, no, he didn't set the price at Circle K, right? He's also not, he doesn't even own oil stock. That was George W. Bush. But it's things like that are just like, you guys don't communicate well. It's real annoying. And I hate it. And I think if I were to play the like old man shouting at a cloud, like technology is gonna, is the worst thing ever. It like that level of communication, not just memes, but that level of communication and the baggage that comes along with it could be the thing that dooms everyone.
Yeah. So a couple things to unpack there.
Yep.
I agree with everything that you just said. Now, if people, and there are people, there's many of them out there,
like 7 billion, I think, 7.3 billion.
Well, that look at memes as anything other than a fun anecdote for your day, right? Then that's a real problem, and those people are out there, and that is the problem, right? In the context of politics, I don't know if it's a technology or if it's a commodifying of the political landscape that is the reason for memes being what they are.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
The technology certainly propagates it. However, the commodification of politics is what allows us to take nuanced conversations and boil them down to 2 sentences as a gotcha for marketing.
Right, absolutely.
Right? And that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think to draw that out just a little bit more, it might not even be the politics that they're commodifying. It's the emotion around it.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Because as my therapist tells me, there's only two emotions, love and fear, and those people are afraid. Right? And all they're doing with their like the memes and the proliferation of and weaponization of it is that you are exploiting someone's emotions, right? Which, granted, pot calling the kettle black. We play music and that's what we do for a fucking job.
Yeah.
But like, it's still like hopefully if I'm doing what I want to do, hopefully what I'm doing is I'm exploiting someone's joy and their love
and ability to unify.
Right.
Instead
of being like, he did that shit, Hunter Biden's dick is gonna kill my kids.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, that's not, God damn it. Like, I didn't want to see his dick, but God damn it, you showed it to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the thing. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why people think that drag queens are more dangerous than guns.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, if you're looking at a drag queen, the gun's the most dangerous thing because somebody's gonna come and shoot you.
Yeah.
Like it's, and like, I get it. I just memeified my shit. Like I didn't, don't meme that. Don't clip that. But it's real unfortunate that that's part of the mentality of the thing,
Yeah, totally.
Like when you minimize a conversation, unfortunately what happens is you get rid of context, you get rid of the majority of the information that's available on the conversation. And then unfortunately what happens is you also probably get it wrong. Because when you simplify things sometimes so much, it's not nearly the point of what it was, right? Like if we want to get like music, take this back to music for a second, and take it back to engineering, right? When you compress things as far as bit rate's concerned, there becomes a time when it's no longer the original signal, right? You take a guitar, play a chord, and then it's keep crushing bits, keep crushing bits, keep crushing bits. When you get down to like things that used to be acceptable, like 16 or 8, it doesn't sound like a guitar anymore, right? And so when we talk, like now pushing it back to memes, if we talk about take a conversation like for example, what's happening in the world right now, literally this minute, at that time of recording, I'm not sure what's happening when you're watching this, but right now there's a war between Israel and Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization, right? But that and the Palestinian people deserve like a life, right? And I'm on the side of peace, and I'm not on the side of terrorism. And that shit doesn't fit in a fucking meme.
Yeah, totally.
80 years of history of Israel does not fit in a fucking meme.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it also doesn't fit in a flag in your fucking bio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you've never been to Israel. I have. It's not the same thing. You don't get it. Like, you know, and like, it's real frustrating because we can have a nuanced conversation about like that whole conflict and the history thereof and where the solutions may lie, and the fact that we were fucking moving towards one, especially with the Saudis wanting to have an armistice with the Israelis. And I was so fucking hopeful.
Yeah,
you know.
All out the
and then
window.
this shit happens, and the problem is that when I go to the discourse that I would normally go to, which is like the what do they call it, the digital town hall of social media.
Yeah.
When I go there, I am not faced with people having nuanced conversations or even saying that they give a fuck about any of the people.
Right.
They just want to fucking make a meme, man, and that shit sucks. Fuck your memes, dude. Like it's real garbage for communication, and it's real garbage for people, and people don't understand anything because that is like they mistake the concept of a meme for an infographic.
Yeah, totally. And we've also in giving memes as much weight as we've allowed them to have over the years, they're now being weaponized against us by other countries. Like Russia has like meme farms and they just pump out nonsense.
Yeah.
And they just put them out on, you know, whatever social media platform, and it gets all the fucking, you know, all the boomers all hyped up.
Yeah.
And you know, whether we like it or not, the boomers are still the ones kind of in charge.
Yeah, they have all the money and they have all the offices.
Yeah. So
until 10 years after their death.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, when they get amped up about shit, it's not just a cranky old person yelling, "Get off my grass." It's a real problem. You know, so
it's a person who's like, the gays are the problem, and so is the abortions. So we're literally not going to have a Speaker of the House, nor are we going to push through anybody who is of military brass. And so our military is going to be crippled, and so is our Congress. And these are things that are legitimately happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we can make that point, finger pointing, and I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is that since information is so squashed, and so people are just so afraid of shit, that they use, like, even those people that whose name I'm not saying are using those culture wars as like their soapboxes, and that literally hamstrings the ability for a country to function.
yeah, 100%.
You know, and whether you want to get mad about the concept of globalism or not, we live in a world economy. The internet is the World Wide Web, right? That is where commerce is done, right? You want to buy anything, you're probably not going to a store right now.
Right.
You're probably going to the internet. It doesn't matter what it is, right? If you DoorDash your food, you Postmates your groceries, you Amazon your whatevers. You know, like if you need like, I don't know, like a Brillo pad butt plug, you can get one.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't need to go to a store and have anybody look at you weird because you wanted that. You can just go to the internet and get it, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, globalism, whatever, like, it literally, we are all one place.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and for us to be so afraid of the concept that we could all just fucking work together and be one people, like, and I get that I'm getting real like woo-woo hippie shit, but like, for real, that is not something to be afraid of, because whether we like it or not, it's happening.
Yeah, it's already happening.
You know, it's done, right? So don't be mad about it. Don't be afraid of it. You know what I mean? Don't meme it. You know?
Yeah.
Don't, like, I get it's funny to laugh at Alex Jones, but like he means some nefarious shit when he says globalists. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so, like, maybe we just skip the meme, and just be cool with the fact that maybe the thing you bought got somebody else a job.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and maybe if there's somebody that you care about specifically, and you know that they have a form of commerce, then maybe you support them. Maybe you give musicians the dollar.
Right.
You know what I mean? And maybe, like, you don't just go stream their shit for free or for cheap. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Maybe you go see Anton Laplume at wherever gig he just said earlier.
Jackrabbits, November 15th with
They-
Big Shrimp.
November 14th.
Damn it, so close.
Yeah, with Big Shrimp. Go there, check it out, man. You know, like and go to all of them. Like wherever the people are, you go to them, you support them. Buy a fucking T-shirt that says "I yelled Freebird" because you want to support something, and not because you get all bent out of shape because somebody else blah blah blah. Fucking support the things you love. Don't be afraid of anything. You're gonna die one day. I'm gonna die one day. 5 years. And it's fine. We're gonna get there. You know what I mean? And like, if we don't get there together, then what the fuck is the point?
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
Fuck your memes, dog.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
I like it. I like it.
That's a good,
Unpopular opinion, and I usually get a lot more pushback on that one. Just so you guys know, because this is one of my saber rattles. I say this one a lot. So
yeah.
I get pushback. But so thank you for validating me.
I can understand why people want to push back on it, but I mean, also at the same time, I don't because really, it's like memes weren't ever meant to be like these like pinnacles of truth.
Right. They're supposed to be cultural earworms.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly. And that to me is all that, like, I find many of them, whether I agree with them or not, to be hilarious because they're either ridiculous in how much nuance has been stripped away, which is why it's funny, or I do agree with it and I'm like, that's kind of hilarious to simplify it that way, right? But either way, I know that if you're like in any other endeavor, especially music, if you want it to thrive, curiosity is always going to be the thing that keeps it moving. And when you reduce things and then state them as facts, you strip away not only the curiosity, but just the idea that you might be curious about it is laughable.
Sure. Go learn some shit.
Yeah, and then your entire culture as a whole gets dumbed down to the lowest common denominator. Because though someone like you, not me, because I don't like to read, but you might be you sound like a big reader.
I'm a big reader, yeah.
So even though you guys exist, you're only as strong as your weakest link now.
You're absolutely right.
Right?
Yeah, I yell facts at people all the time who don't want to hear them.
Exactly.
Sometimes you even sing it to them.
I do. Sometimes I do. I've been singing this tune live a lot. It's Jackie Stranger song, and I basically just like took shit that I'm mad about people being wrong about.
Yeah.
And the song is called "You're Wrong."
Yeah.
And it's like I have 1,000 billion verses, and it's just that. It's me singing verses about people being wrong about shit.
That's
you know,
so
like
funny.
it's like no, crystals don't heal shit.
Yeah.
Yes, vaccines work. Like carrying a gun doesn't make you bulletproof. The waitress doesn't want to fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like look out for it. It'll just come see me live. You can hear it.
There you go.
There you go.
Support local music.
Uh-huh.
That was a good unpopular opinion.
Thank you.
I like it. So to kind of, I could go one kind of hilarious route, or I can go one a little bit more serious.
Which go with the one that is higher on the page.
Okay, the one that's higher on the page is okay. This might be pretty wildly unpopular for some people,
Come
but
for it.
people. Let me see how I worded this because it's kind of a.
It's nuanced. It doesn't fit in a meme.
Yeah, basically. People certainly try to make it fit in.
I'll get it down to 30 seconds for Instagram, no problem.
You'll yak and reel it up for me real quick.
You said it wrong, but I'm here for it.
Okay. Someone who uses a person's failed business endeavors to prove incompetence has never tried to start a business.
Oh, I agree with that.
Right.
But that is. Can I extend that?
Sure.
A person's successes in business also don't prove business acumen.
Sure, that's kind of the same thing, just a
It's
different
both, yeah.
perspective. Because what I hear a lot of in the news, and just for any of those, because I had someone fucking mention that I must be a big mainstream media guy. I don't watch any mainstream media. I do listen to a lot of like more independent sources that I do trust.
Okay.
What I hear a lot of is people saying things like, "Oh, well, this person's not. They might be successful now, but they had this business failed. This business failed. This." I'm like, dude, that's literally the story of any successful person ever.
Sure.
You don't hit it on your first one.
Maybe not.
Maybe, but like that's the exception to the rule, though.
Absolutely, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And I think that to sit there and cast dispersions upon people that have had failed endeavors is way more telling of you than it is of the person that you're casting dispersions on.
Well, yeah, like, to quote every rapper, everyone's got haters, right?
Yeah.
And like fuck haters. Like, it's not a big thing. It is totally a big thing, but it's not gonna make or break you, unless your hater is extremely powerful. So yes, you're absolutely right. To also draw an extension to that, both my point on it, or how I framed it, how you frame it, both don't take into account the fact that it also an unpopular opinion, in a capitalist system, especially the one that is what that we have, which is well-regulated capitalism. Talent does not equal success.
Right.
It just simply doesn't. Like some of the best people at various things that I know of are absolute failures, or like absolute's not the word, but like quantifiable failures. You could go, this person is a great guitar player, or is a very capable guitar player, and they write fantastic songs and they have a golden voice, but they can't be that good because they don't have any records out, right? And you could say that, but that robs the idea that, like, and that's the the person failed a lot and so they suck, right? But that also robs the idea that maybe that person just didn't hit the luck. You know what I mean? Like nobody, like the right person didn't hear them. They didn't get the right producer, or they got the wrong producer. Looking at you, Townes Van Zandt. Yeah. Right? Like he had the best fucking songs, and like unfortunately all the studio recordings are fucking awful because he just hit it wrong. You know what I mean? And so like that's why he didn't get to be Johnny Cash.
Right.
But for my money, Townes Van Zandt is 10 times the songwriter that Johnny Cash ever would have been. If Johnny Cash wrote his own songs.
I was gonna say,
yeah. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, so like, yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that success does not indicate acumen.
Right. And
failure does not indicate deficiency. You were absolutely right.
Yeah.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. It's very telling to me when people say things like that, and I have to like, and I do get, I think that when you've tried to start any kind of endeavor, in my case, it's always been something, music related, whether it's bands or, trying to sustain a podcast. And like, is it where there are so many things that happen where you're like, okay, it didn't work out. Does that mean that anything that I do in the future is going to be a failure? Or does that mean that I'm any less capable of doing something because I've had failed endeavors? At least people that have those failed endeavors have tried to do the thing.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? To your point, when people bring up, like Elon Musk or Donald Trump or people like this where, they've had successes, they've also had failures.
They both had rich dads too.
Yeah, well, that definitely helps.
If my dad owned an opal mine or a diamond mine or whatever else, I'd also have a brand new truck, but whatever. Yeah. I'll drive my 2003 fucking S10. It'll be fine.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things where I think that we need to stop reducing, because it's misleading on the people that it's coming from too, because you have like reporters that say things like this or anchors that say things like this, and you're like, but that's bullshit though, right? Because if you're let's say you're not on like a mainstream media platform. Let's say that you are somebody who's like a news podcaster or whatever.
Fuck yeah, I'm on Rumble right now. Yeah. I'm not on Rumble. Don't.
Yeah, don't.
Don't do that. Don't come back. Don't click away.
Yeah. When you're saying things like that, I know that you're full of shit and you're just trying to ramp people up because you've started your own thing, and chances are this isn't your first incarceration of it, or incarnation of it, right? So when you say things like that, you're doing something to amp up your people to get more views, and it's bullshit. And I
100%.
think it's the cheapest form of trying to obtain followers.
Yeah, also those people don't know shit about statistics, because if they did, they would know that correlation is not causation.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it's that simple. Like, just because two things run parallel to one another, it does not mean that they are related.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the age-old tale of like, the example that they use in like stats classes where it's like, well, there's a correlation between ice cream sales and boat accidents.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, how do you get from point A to point B? Well, it's the summertime. Usually
exactly.
people buy ice cream because it's hot. They're out in the boats because it's hot.
Precisely.
One doesn't cause the other. Though,
I don't get high on my fucking butter pecan and then fucking crash my boat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I do, but there's other things going
Speak
on.
for yourself, dude.
You're right. I do get high on my butter pecan.
Yeah.
That's my favorite ice cream. So, if somebody out there wants to buy me some, they get it. Moving on.
So, anyways, that's my unpopular
That's a good one.
opinion. you
Cool.
know.
I'm gonna do another one because I got one that can be. I think it can be done quickly. Let's find out.
Sure.
This is a musical one. Standing ovations should be only for truly superlative performances.
I said something like this recently, where not quite the same thing, but like encores are overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree with you. I think that like it also takes away from like the surprise element of. Oh, you're okay. So you're about standing ovations. Where
I'm only going to stand up if you were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
If you suck, or if you were just real good, I'm not standing up.
Yeah, you're gonna.
I don't care if everyone around me is standing up.
Yeah.
Because I've done this before and I don't do it. I won't do it.
I can see it.
Like I see a performance and I'm like, okay, that was good, but like I'm like generally emotionally unmoved.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get up and like stand. Like I feel like genuinely like a standing ovation should only be for superlative performance.
Additionally, it shouldn't even be a conscious decision. You should be rocketed out of your seat by the end of the performance. There is no choice but to stand up
it's like
with
an
how
impulse.
excited you are.
Yeah.
If you are actively thinking, should I stand or not? Stay seated.
Don't. Yeah.
Sit down.
Don't do it. Yeah. Like, and it's the amount of times that I've actually been moved to want to give somebody a standing ovation are just so few in so many different kinds of performances. It doesn't matter, like athletic things, theatrical things, musical things. Like if I got your story but I didn't like feel it, that's fine, man.
Yeah.
That's all.
I feel that for sure. I'm with that.
I like it.
Thanks.
Jack, thank you for being with us today,
Anytime, man. This is great fun.
So much
I'm
fun.
not sure if I gave you too much material, but I had a great time.
Bro,
And-
we got so much material. I think
and-
we're almost at 3 hours.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Cool.
It's our longest podcast in a long time. I love
cool.
it.
So yeah, feel free to edit that under 45 minutes.
That's 45 minutes. Yeah, right, dude.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been really great. And
Yeah,
like I
dude.
said, I do watch them all. I'm not going to watch this one, but I'll watch all the other
Yeah.
ones.
I don't blame you, dude. All right, bro. Well, thanks again for being here.
Anytime.
Make sure you check out all of Jackie Stranger stuff, plus all of the
Other things.
other endeavors you got
Yeah.
going.
Bryce
Where can
Ellis
people find
Strabane,
you?
on the internet.
On the internet?
Yeah.
You do Instagram at least.
I do. The trulydeadinside.com will take you to my Instagram.
Okay, trulydeadinside.com.
Yeah.
I love it.
Or official not Jack Ringca, which you're not going to remember, but Truly Dead Inside you will.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.